Welcome to the Warrior's Way Home podcast.
Fellas, if you treat your lady like a prize, you won. You'll live like a contestant forever. You'll be performing, you'll be insecure, and you'll be hella resentful. Tonight, we're going to look at what happens when a simp tries to be a savior. Just another lesson that you can use by Monday. Hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving, spend that family time, with your people yesterday. I hope you got nice and fat and happy and all that good stuff. But it's kind of back to the grind, fellas. It's time to make sure that we are staying on purpose. Yeah, one day off is great, but moving forward, Black Friday is a time to go out and buy stuff, but make sure that you're catching the lessons that are being dropped, not just rather the jewels that are being dropped in today's scenario, not just the Black Friday deals. So Travis, how you doing today, man?
Yeah, man, that's why I was late. I was out treating ladies like prizes all night long, and just wore me out. Just wore me out. That's what we're late. Travis was out treating women like prizes, all over the place.
Did you at least get some stuffing for your trouble?
I don't eat stuffing. We're not even gonna go there.
All right, want to talk about that? We can move on. So today we're talking about Akaash Singh, the comedian that has been all over the news, what people call a humiliation ritual these days. He is another one of these fellas that we've been talking about, Will Smith, Stephen Curry, another guy who is just allowing his wife to openly disrespect him. I don't know what it is about these famous guys and their wives, but every time they do something cool, they just want to hop online and start talking shit, man. What is this? Is it something in the water? Is it like you hit a certain threshold for your income and now your wife just kind of turns on you? What do you think is going on here?
2025 has definitely been the year of the simp, man, and that's been destroying a lot of these dudes. I think it was Cat Williams that said, 2025 was gonna be the year of revelations, that we're gonna be coming out with. And bro, is like how guys actually move and how guys actually live has definitely been revealing itself all over the internet, including guys in their relationships, man. It's been a wild thing to see, but it's one of those things that not really surprising, to be honest. With some of these guys, for instance, like he got online, he was talking mad noise about Will Smith. We saw some videos of that where he was just going in on him, talking about basically calling him a simp and all the stuff that was going on with him, and different things like that. And then it turns around that he's been playing a game just as bad.
I would say kind of worse, because we all knew about the Will and Jada stuff for years, but this Akash Singh thing, it's not new. It doesn't really feel like it's brand new, but at the same time, it feels worse because at least Jada wasn't like, oh, I was simping over this one dude who's dead. The Lileen, I can't remember her name, Jalene Singh was basically like, oh, well, I missed the frat house. I missed the entire fraternity hanging out with them and being loose and kind of doing this thing, despite saying that they were virgins when they got together, when they got married. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for those who don't know, kind of the scenario that we're talking about, we're gonna show you guys a little bit of what we're discussing here, so that the audience can kind of get, because it's not just about our opinions. A lot of there's been a lot of commentary on this the last 1 or 2 weeks. Like the views he's been getting on his stuff hasn't been for anything that he would probably find funny, to be honest. He's been getting a lot of views, but it hasn't been for the reasons that he was expecting to, I'm sure. So we're gonna pop on with our boy MTR, and we'll say our boy like we know him. I feel like watching the videos to the point where I know him now. But he's been going in on him. Ab and Preach have been going in on him. all the way to Fresh and Fit's. I forgot his name. Um,
The usual
yeah,
suspects.
no, Fresh and Fit, the dude from Fresh and Fit. He's
No,
been
no, no. I
going
just
in
mean like,
on.
yeah, just like the usual guys who talk about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's been one of those things where App and Preach don't. They do, but it's just been a wild thing to
Hmm.
see unfolding. So give me one second to pull that up. But the biggest takeaway from this, man, is just the it's just another example that simping backfires, bro. It backfires a lot, and I've really haven't seen it done successfully, to be honest with you.
You know, I know we all kind of know what simping is, but just kind of a quick definition for those who don't. Simping is like the guy in high school or middle school that's writing the love letters to his crush, and it's like, hey, do you like me? Check yes for no, yeah, or check the yes box, check the no box, whatever. Maybe. Do you want to go on a date? That kind of thing. You're writing poetry, and you're doing all these lovely things for women that don't want anything to do with you, or they maybe you see them as somebody who is better than you, so you're trying to cater to all their needs, but it comes off as like super needy. What's the other word? um Pathetic. That's right. Pathetic. So when you start to like do this for people who do not want that affection because you keep pursuing that person, is why we call it simping. You know what I mean? If a woman actually likes you and she likes poetry and all that stuff, then you're just in the clear. Like you're good to go. But when you start doing these things for people who don't actually like try to reciprocate that affection, that's where you're getting into simp territory.
Yeah, and one big reason why I want to talk about this because I was a huge simp back in the day. I can 100% um, say that.
Mhm.
This is like because I've had the experience.
Yeah.
It's definitely been a thing that I have done. So it's one of those things I recognize it when I see
Same.
it, and I recognize the guy being deep into it.
Okay,
For
so my
sure. I've
husband
definitely done it too.
TikTok the other day, and they were like, "How do you and your husband split finances?" And I'm gonna be really fucking honest.
I don't.
We don't.
We don't.
I
We
hate
don't.
this part.
Well, that's a fucking red flag. I'm not like no joke. This is not a two-way street. This is a one-way street. His money is our money, and my money is my money.
Someone save this man.
What is this?
For
What is?
real.
All right. If you're not, I'll
So
drop a.
there are some very famous phrases of women saying that. That's nothing new,
Hmm.
as far as um, kind of what we've heard before. Most of us, if you're a guy who's been on the internet in the last at least 10 years, you've heard a woman say, you've heard a woman say that out of her mouth. That
Hmm.
the man's money is my money and my money is my money. That's not a wild phrase to be saying. I would say probably when it gets a little crazy with her is when she starts getting into some of the relationship stuff.
Hmm.
um, Honestly, that's where it kind of takes a big left.
Yeah.
um, let's see here, pull this up real quick because she had some like you said, the big thing is he had a very interesting take on their relationship about her being a virgin before, both of them being virgins before they got married,
Hmm.
but she had a different
Take on it.
not I wouldn't even say take on it, but when you hear him talk about it and you hear her talk about it, it sounds like two different people are having two very different experiences.
Hmm.
um so yeah, that was probably the most eye opening thing for me was that piece. Is that damn video?
Yeah, and it's sad because it's he's I don't know anything about the guy. Apparently he's a little bit of a jerk when he kind of does his comedy, but all comedians are supposed to be kind of assholes. You know what I mean? That's kind of part of the joke.
Hmm.
But when you start to speak on somebody else's situation and then your situation comes to light, that's where there's like, that hypocrisy kind of thing. Um, what goes on between you and your wife is your business until you hop on a podcast and start, running your mouth about whatever your perspective is, kind of thing. But they've both done that. He's talked online, started talking about other people's relationships. She's talked online, talked about her relationship. And that's, I can't say that's where it gets unfair, but he seems like, uh, at least recently in the clips that we've seen, he seems like he's a little bit, in my opinion, blindsided by it. You know what I mean? Or at least he didn't expect her to go in the way that she has, because like we said, it's kind of topped Aisha and Jada in our previous episodes that we talked about.
Yeah. And the big thing, like I said, the big thing guys are saying was, so before we hop into that one, there was a piece where it's like, it's kind of showing this lady doesn't even like this dude is the biggest thing.
Mhm.
That's kind of the most eye-opening piece, is like when you see a woman who shows signs of attraction to you, it's be fairly obvious to somebody that like this woman, especially when it's like your wife, that this woman
Mhm.
actually likes you. And I'm not sure that's really coming across.
Will you be
Yeah.
forever again? Yes. Thank you.
I can't watch. I can't watch.
You would have thought it was a car crash.
Because it looked like a damn car crash, bro. So to give some context to this, basically, give the backstory on some of their relationship. They've been together for how long at this point?
I think we saw that it was at least, my research said like 18, at least 18 years. I thought.
Mhm.
I need to verify again. So we did the math. We were trying to do the math when we first looked this up, and um, it wasn't very clear.
Yeah.
They have been married. It says there's no public information, but I think we figured out it was about like at least over 10 years.
Yeah, and it should be there in the notes. Here we go. So, okay. So we had that. But like I said, the one that really got my attention was when I see videos like this one coming up.
With some other clips, because the internet, and it wants to get petty. It's about half as good as me. And
sometimes I get so painfully nostalgic for college.
Okay,
So
I was popping my and living my best life in these white boy frat houses.
I'm actively trying to have an orgy because, and you haven't seen Nav yet, but wait till you fucking see him.
Nav is her co-host's husband.
His body goes crazy. His face card always slays, never declines.
He's all single.
Weird because I'm talking about your husband. I just know that Nav's dick
This is
is
wild.
like at least 10 inches. Okay, I have two bunch stories. So one time I met this guy on Tinder.
Not
and
one,
I made the dumb mistake of letting him sleep over, like not really wanting to fucking hook up. And I like woke up in the morning and like my asshole was a little sore.
Oh my god!
And I remember that he what kind of do you watch when you use a vibrator?
Okay, not gonna lie, I don't watch while using a vibrator. What? I just
This
think
shit was
my
sad.
imagination is vibration enough.
This is the worst,
What?
by
I
the
just
way.
think of like my own husband while I'm like doing it.
Wait, that's kind of baller, but I
Yeah.
could never do that.
Yeah.
Damn.
And so I was
It's kind of
Damn, bro.
It's
kind
just,
of baller, but I could never do that. That's
you
some
can't
wild.
even.
That's some wild stuff to say out your mouth, bro. That's kind of baller, but I could.
Imagine being able to build an app.
On
about
TV, though.
you think about your husband when
Mhm.
when you're masturbating. I could never do that. That's amazing for
Right.
you. I'm so happy
Right.
for you, but that's not my
Aren't you
experience.
supposed to be like actively having sex with your husband? Like, isn't that like part of the fun of marriage? I don't know. It's just weird, bro. Because first of all, that's several lines were crossed. You're like thirsting after your friend's husband. It's one thing if you make one or two jokes, but you're like you basically make it a segment on your podcast. You make it all about that piece of it, and then
Yeah.
you can't give your husband any type of respect. And her friend doesn't seem to be trying to like feed into it or like, yeah, girl, let's do this and all that kind of stuff. But it's just like
You're not stopping the
for
shit either, though.
yeah, she ain't stop it either.
Yeah, because
Go
this
now.
is
At this
him.
point.
My
Okay.
wife also hadn't had any sexual partners, so that helped us connect a lot more.
Now, let me ask you this:
And
do
I-
you believe her?
Hell no.
If you've seen her, then it's hard to believe. I remember I was just like, what?
Yeah.
But she was like,
Too good to be
she was
true.
22, I was 31. There was an age gap.
This little clip right here is spliced together with some other clips.
So, like I said,
Sometimes I get so painfully nostalgic for college. I
experience?
was popping my and living my best life in these white boy frat houses.
so you got you got one that was like, we were both virgins. It's-
I
and then you
don't
got the other,
necessarily
and then you
believe.
got the other side that's like, I was out here popping it in the on the dance floor.
Yeah. I don't know if I believe he was a virgin till 31. Because I think his career was already doing its thing. I think he was already in that space where he was starting to get really successful, and things come with that. You know what I'm saying? All the trappings of success. But I think for what maybe his perspective of it is a lot more flowery than hers. She's like, okay, I settled because I didn't know what was going to happen after, popping it at the frat boy houses and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? She maybe didn't see a next step for her career, but he was like, hey, this guy's interested in me. He's making money already. Like, I'll just see where this goes. Maybe not thinking it was going to lead to a marriage, because that's a lot of that same reaction that I see with women that suppose like prettier women that are with guys that the guy definitely feels like he's out of her league, and they're like, okay, well, I'm just gonna have fun here for a while, get whatever monetary needs met, and then I'm gonna move on. But if the success is there long enough and it's big enough, they don't have a reason to leave. You know what I mean? Maybe it's just him. Like if it was somebody else who she thought was incredibly attractive and all that stuff, she'd have no problem. But it's because it's him that she feels like maybe she settled. What do you think?
I'm going to disagree with you. I can 100% see him being a virgin. I get
Hmm.
100, because just the way the stuff that's gone on so far and his reaction to it, I can 100%. I think he views marriage much differently than she views marriage, and
Hmm.
that's a big one. I think he might actually respect marriage. He comes off to me as one of those guys that's like, I do want to save myself for my wife type
Hmm.
situation, because of the way, in some of these videos he talks about marriage, how high he seems to hold it. As much as he may joke about it and all these different things like that, I've seen some of his comedy stuff, never a special or anything like that, but the way he talks about marriage and defends it, sounds like in some of these videos we're going to watch, I could see him, you know really holding marriage real high and being one of those guys like, yeah, I don't want to. Now, I'm not saying he didn't do anything before marriage, because there's a lot you can do up until penetration of the JJ,
Hmm.
which for most people is the thing that counts as you being a virgin. It's
Hmm.
like you've never, if you haven't entered one since you've been out of one, you're still a virgin for
Hmm.
a lot of people.
Hmm.
But there's a lot of stuff you can do in between. So I'm not saying he didn't do any of that, but one, he comes up to me as as a pretty insecure dude.
Hmm.
Two, I think he values marriage to a point where I could see him actually holding, if he did get the opportunity, holding back from actually going all the way until he got married.
Hmm.
Her, on the other hand, I don't think she values marriage at all the way she's moving.
Hmm.
To be real about it, I don't see it. I think he fell in love with the Disney story. I think he fell in love. I think she chased the bag,
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
my mind.
For sure. Yeah. And it happens a lot, unfortunately, if women see that potential of, because not a lot of guys got it, man. Like if you're either in that point where you're starting to get successful or you've been successful and you're able to maintain that, I feel like a lot of guys can't really do that. So if a woman sees that opportunity and she's willing to put up with you enough, that might be it for her. But it is, make no mistake, it is putting up with you. I think she puts up with him. He might love her. She puts up with him. Yeah. So a quick question as far as like, for the audience, have you ever put a woman on a pedestal? That's definitely what I see here is have you ever put a woman on a pedestal and kind of above your own self-respect? I know I have, a couple of times, and it sucks, but then it's almost at least one time is necessary for you to kind of figure out, okay, what do I need to change in order to make sure that this doesn't happen again? It can happen several times, you know what I mean? Especially because we kind of get that Disney story where that man caters to that woman. You know, I'm trying to save you, I'm trying to provide for you, to take you away from this life and all the other kind of good stuff. And we expect her to be grateful. But if that woman doesn't want to be with you, how much can you really expect? You know? So if you can leave it in the chat, yes or no. Have you ever put a woman on a pedestal? And we can definitely look at that as we're going through the rest of this year.
Yeah, man, for sure. I mean, I know I have. Like I said, 100%. I've definitely been there. So I'm like, I can see it so clearly now when dudes are doing it, because I'm like, man, that reminds me of like when I did this. And I mean, because like I said, the guy you described in, writing the love letters and everything like that, I was that guy. I was the guy writing poetry to women, like starting elementary school, moving my way up. And I stopped that particular thing like in junior high, because I had get such bad results from it that I was never again. Like I've had women that I write. She's like, "Oh, you write poetry? Why have you never written me poetry?" It's like, because all the women before you fucked that up for you.
I've never written a poem for a woman except my wife, but we were dating at the time. Because I told her I used to write poetry, like, way back in the day, but I never gave it to anybody. I just kept it. So she was like, "Oh, write me one." So I wrote her one, but she didn't see the vision. Let's put it that way.
She didn't see the vision.
She didn't see the vision.
Wow.
Like, I thought it was dope. She was like, "What's this shit?" And I was like, "Ah, man, all right, well, you don't get any more either."
That's the stuff that makes you like, yeah, you're never gonna see another poem ever again. And I don't think women realize just how important that is when a guy does put his time and energy and feelings down on a piece of paper like that. How fragile that little egg is. It's like, and like I said, at least you wrote it to women who you were, women you were dating. I was writing it to random chicks that I was like into, women that I liked. Women that I liked. I was writing it to women that I liked, but I wasn't in relationships with them. I was like, I had a hard time expressing myself directly to them, talking to them. So it's like I would write them, the secret, letter, put it in a nice envelope, put it on their desk type shit. I did all that. I did I did all the things. But it's that stuff does not play out well, man. Is like that simp behavior. Here's the thing. If you're going to do stuff like that, do it for women who are actually who've shown you that they value you before you do stuff like that. Not the things that you can do for me. Like, it's like there are some guys who the first thing they do is buy women stuff. It's like I was broke, luckily, so I didn't buy women stuff. It's like, no, I have blown some money on women when I had money. It's like the one who should have never had any of that. But men will either lead. You got to protect your meat, basically. Is what we talk about. Your money, your energy, your attention, and your time. I've given all of those away. I've given away my meat all over the place. And yes, I meant that to sound how it sounded. But yeah, I've definitely, at first it was my energy and my attention and my time. Is I just get, I didn't have any money, so I was just giving it away. Then I started getting some money and was still simp and started giving away my money too. Along with that is like, and bro, you give that to a woman who has not shown that she values you or is even attracted to you in any kind of way. Is like, what are you expecting her to do? You're just shoveling attention into a black hole. It's just going to keep asking for more and more stuff, or you're just going to keep giving more and more stuff.
Absolutely. And so the goal is, so the goal is to be the man that you want to be in a relationship. Excuse me. Be the man you want to be in a relationship before the relationship, because it's like I think we said in the previous episode, everybody has that like customer service rep when they first get into dating and trying to figure out who
the
somebody
representative.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're the simp and that's your representative, you're gonna have a hard time. You know what I mean? Because you're already starting out the gate with what, in financial services they call it the white glove service. You're trying to cater to them and give them everything they need up front, because it's like, look at me, look at all the value that I have and the things that I can give you, instead of this is what I'm doing for myself. If you want to be a part of this, you can. I'm going to treat you right. However, I'm not making you my main mission. So if you're starting with the simp uh, uh, aspect, then you're insecure, delusional, and chaotic versus, having clarity, those strong boundaries, and showing that integrity. Because it's the integrity and the boundaries and stuff that women are going to test, but you need to make sure that it's solid before you move in a relationship with them. Because if they know they can run over you from jump, it's not going to get better as the relationship goes on.
Well, how you start is how you continue. It's just
Mhm,
with on both sides of things. It's like there's an expectation when you start getting into relationships of this is the baseline of what we do.
mhm,
For men and for women, women get upset, be like, oh, you don't bring me candy anymore, you don't write me poetry, or we don't go out or anything like that. All the things you did to get her, she gets upset because that stuff doesn't continue into the relationship. That seems to be a lot of criticism. A lot of criticisms women give about guys is like he's not doing the things he did to get me. Is like, but the same, and then men get upset because like I'm not getting any sex. It's like, and that's the thing
mhm.
she did to get him.
Right, right.
It's like, so that baseline where you start. So if you start with like the super simpish behavior, doing all the stuff, there's going to be an expectation for you to maintain that or do more and more and more and
Mhm,
more. So from where he was starting with this relationship, probably, and the way he was behaving, that's just going to ratchet up over time.
yeah,
It's like, so, a woman, she probably was, I'm going to assume she probably was doing a lot of this before they got married. If I had to guess, I don't
yeah.
see this being just one of those one-off things where it's like, oh, she was probably well behaved, other than this, very
Nah,
small piece of time that we're all getting a chance to see. Now,
right.
I have my doubts that that's the case. Um,
No, for sure.
because one of those things where going on her own podcast now, saying the things that she's saying, but also what they're displaying now. So, for instance, like there was a big thing that he did where he basically, I don't know about renewed the vows or that they had, but he was basically saying that like every so often, couples get remarried type
Mhm,
situation. So
mhm,
he had this big romantic gesture, from what I gather, and had a very expensive ring that he presented to her. And I don't think it went as he expected it to go. So let's check that out real
yeah, I
quick.
got words for this one. Please play that.
First of all, I want to say to Amma, happy birthday.
Thank you.
All of this is possible because you told me I could do anything that I wanted.
Oh,
And the best decision I ever made in my entire life was to marry this woman right here. Whose birthday it is in 2 weeks. And I love you so much. And the only regret that I have is that I only got to marry you once. So I'm gonna make a little quick announcement that we're gonna get married again. We're gonna renew our vows immediately.
Look how long she's gonna stare at the ring
Fun.
and
And
not look at
since
him.
I am renewing my vows, I think the only thing you can do is pause again.
Look,
Oh
Jasleen,
my
Jasleen Singh, will you be Jasleen Singh forever
Now,
again?
my thing is like this: is like a woman who's actually into you. He said all those words, all that romantic gesture, the thing women say that they want. They want a man who's
Uh,
romantic, who can express himself and his emotions and all these things, and give me the ooh and cool and all that good stuff. She didn't react at all the whole, so she didn't react at all the whole time he was talking. There was no like, oh my God, this is all happening and da 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 da. None of that. There was no
yeah.
reaction until she saw the ring.
Hmm.
She reacted to the ring. She didn't react to him at all. That's
Yeah.
the thing that is catching my attention first. Is like she didn't react to him at all. Saying
Hmm.
the things that he's saying, which either means that he's saying shit like that. He's saying things like that all the time, and it doesn't mean anything to her, or she doesn't care about him and his feelings and what he's saying about this. But let's keep digging into it a little
Yeah.
bit.
yes. Oh my
See, that's the reaction you would expect to get when he immediately started doing the thing. When the minute he said, "I wish I could marry you twice," and then got down on the knee, you would expect that reaction to kind of kick off right about then. But nope.
God. Oh.
take that rinky thing off. That rinky dink.
Did you guys know this? Yes.
You notice?
My God. How big is this?
Big enough for you to shut up every time I tell you.
Thank you so
And,
much.
and bro,
His reaction is priceless.
it looks like it is like watching somebody get maimed. That's how it feels.
Yeah.
It feels like you're watching somebody get torn apart by a mountain lion.
So here's my thing with this whole situation. You said that he said a whole bunch of romantic words. I don't think he did. Though those didn't seem like the way his posture, the way she was postured, the way everybody was sitting, what he was saying, it sounded like you were just making plans to go to India. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna get our vows renewed to India, da, da, da. But it didn't seem like even he was super enthused about what he was saying. You know what I mean? I think he would have been kind of in her face, not in her like directly in her face, but like wanting to lean in a bit more, get her attention. It's about body language. I don't think his body language even said, I'm happy to be doing this. And like you said, it's a very expensive ring to what she reacted to. But the thing that he said that caught most of my attention was right after she said, how big is there, how expensive it was, or whatever. And he was like, enough for you to shut up every time I tell you to. Like he's like, hey, I finally did the thing. I bought you this one big expensive thing. Please behave, is what I heard. You know what I'm saying? Please stop doing what you're doing. You know what I mean? Because this is not. I don't think this just happens on her podcast. People are saying that like, yo, there's something that's going on behind closed doors that's kind of crazy. And I think he's sick of the disrespect. This new, I don't know how long they've been married, but this new vow renewal thing is a good opportunity I think for couples to like reset and fall back in love and do the big expensive thing or do another wedding and all that stuff to kind of respark that fire and all that. But I'm not seeing any of that here. It feels very transactional. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, looking at it, that's probably what their relationship is transactional. Is like so. Now, I'm gonna disagree on this instance. You have them having dinner on the beach. You have them having probably it looks like her family around from the looks of it. You have him buying an expensive ring. A lot of what he did is actions. A lot of what he did is romantic gestures and romantic actions. Like I said, the thing women say that they want. Now, were his words like super, like, oh my dear? No, I don't think it was. Is like
it wasn't a Jodeci song.
But honestly, let's be real about it. If he was all energetic and mushy and happy, you think that would have went any better?
No, I really don't. And that's the kind of part that sucks. It's like if you even want to do something like that,
I think he looks like
you should also be excited. What?
I think he looks like a beat dog. He gives me the impression of a dog that's been beat. Like you ever call a dog, like a street dog over, like you see the dog like, oh hey dog, da, da, and it's scared to like get near you because like it's like, oh, you want to pet me? Last time somebody said they wanted to pet me, they put me in a chokehold or they threw me in a case.
I haven't seen that, but I've seen enough Sarah McLachlan
He gives me the
commercials.
impression of a beat dog. I think he's been beat. It looks like a guy who's been beat, who's had the passion beaten out of him. To be real about it. Yeah, that's
I wouldn't want to continue that.
That's the impression I get of that. And then, like I said, I'm not just putting it on her because that's a choice. It's like you chose this lady who sucks the joy out of you.
And that's the thing, man. I wouldn't choose that. I wouldn't first of all, I wouldn't choose that, and then I would want to re-choose that.
You wouldn't choose that now.
And there's no
You wouldn't choose that now. Let's be real. We've told some stories on this podcast. You wouldn't choose that now, but have you chosen?
Well, yeah, but I can't speak for those past guys. You know what I mean? Like that's what got me here. But those are lessons, and that's another thing. These are lessons that are best learned early. You know what I mean? Like before you actually put a ring on it, because like we said, there's if they were, I think they were together 6 years before they actually got married. So you have a lot of opportunity to figure out who that person is and how they're going to treat you before you decide to put a ring on it. You know, like it's the same for like abusive relationships. If you've been abused, man or woman, by a significant other, I wouldn't I wouldn't want to continue or further solidify that, with the finances and the paperwork and all that stuff and having to deal with the state name changes. Like, bro, you do all that just to continue what you've been getting? No, sir. So I don't think you can't. We just have to stop the prize worship. Is really what it comes down to. Our wives are not trophies, our girlfriends are not trophies, they're teammates. You are helping me get to this mission. I'm going to help you get to whatever mission you want to be a part of, but that doesn't make you better than me. I don't care how fine you are. Like, it doesn't really make you better than me that I want you on my team. It just means that I have a respect for you and a love for you, and I hope you have the same for me. And you want that mutual respect more than you want that pedal. I hate this word. Then you want to pedestalize that person.
Yeah. I don't think I think he feels he married up, and I think she feels like she married down, but she married the bag. It's how it
Yeah.
comes off to me. Just in that interaction overall, just like seeing how she was excited about the ring, she didn't really seem to care, but and the fact that she didn't kiss him, bro. After that, all that, regardless of how high energy he was, all the stuff that he had did. So like, say she asked him, was like, how, did you guys know about this? And they're like, yes, which means he planned that whole thing probably probably a while ago to get them all there in that one place to do the thing and to be filming during it. That's a lot of planning just to get people all in one place. That's a lot of planning. So all of him showing that and doing the thing and all these different things like that, and she doesn't get excited about the stuff he's saying. She gets super excited about the ring and how big is this? Is like shows you, man, she's chasing the bag. And then, like I said, he goes in for a kiss, and you don't kiss this man, your husband. We're not talking about your boyfriend. And she's talked about like, oh, it's a public display of affection. I'm not okay with that. This is your husband. This is your husband. Even in other cultures and different things like that, because a lot of people are like, oh, it's a culture thing. They don't do public displays of affection. They do in those moments.
Right. Like the camera is rolling, madam.
They do in those moments for you to dodge that kiss like that, for you to dodge that, bro. That's the part that just made my heart hurt for him. I was like, oh.
Well, it's not the first time she's done it. Remember, like we saw the video of the first proposal, and it was the same situation. So, like, like you say, as I am now, if that would have been the situation, and I go in for a kiss, like while we're doing all this, stuff for the media or whatever, and I don't get a kiss, we done right there. If at least not a conversation. Hey, is my breath stink? Do we need a second take? What's going on? Because I just bought you. We're trying to get married. This kind of thing. Like this is the new path that we're going down. I need to know, like, you need your own security in that too.
Yeah.
You need to make sure you're going to be taken care of.
I just put a house on your finger, and this is what I get.
Guys,
yeah.
Yeah. Else about the marriage, it really kind of.
Yeah.
But wait, what? I look good, Mr. Armstrong.
Boom.
Oh no, she's done this.
You kill me, so
No.
That's hard to watch.
Bro.
That's hard to watch.
Bro, I'd rather get kicked in the nuts than have a moment like that. Like on the real, that hurt me more than getting kicked in the cojones. Bro, that's wild to see, man. And some people be like, well, she just doesn't do public displays of affection. Then why does he keep trying this then? Is he not getting the message? Do they not talk?
Right.
It's like, you don't do public displays of affection, then stop trying to and let him know, don't kiss me when we do this.
I don't believe that.
Figure out, I mean, would have been better is like, instead of her giving the cheek, if she had just like dropped her head and like he kissed her on the forehead or something like that. Like that would have been better than her doing, bro. There's so many other things that you could have did. Hugged him and tucked your face into his neck and da 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 da. And there's so many things I could think of. The woman who, doesn't like public displays of affection, but you've been married almost 20 years, and you're still talking that noise, but you don't like public displays of affection. That you can kill that noise with me. You can kill it.
You don't talk about you don't like PDA, but you were what is it, frothing for the old days of you being in frat
Yeah,
houses
yeah. You don't like
doing
public
crazy
displays of
stuff.
affection, but you're going to talk about, butthole stories on your podcast on the internet. But you don't
That's what I'm
like public
saying.
displays of affection. That's save that shit. Save it.
Cat,
Save it. Save it.
cat.
Save it.
Yeah,
I think you're full
yeah,
of it. I think you're full of
yeah,
it. I don't think you like him displaying his affection on you.
yeah, for
Not
sure.
during the original proposal.
On Saturday when I saw her, I said, Daria, do you know?
Oh.
And she said, I don't know anything. I don't know
She's a
anything.
good liar.
Then she's a good liar.
That's a friend.
Yeah, see, bro,
Then she's
hard to watch.
a good liar.
She doesn't like him.
That's a
Mhm.
She
friend.
obviously
Oh, I
does
don't
not
want
like
those
this
Yeah, I
man.
know.
Tell me he gonna go back.
I
Oh
don't
no.
care about.
Mm.
I like
Oh,
tangible
no.
goods.
Nah.
Nah, don't tell me she's doing the get off me, bitch. Don't tell me. She's mushing his head with her head. This chick is diabolical.
I don't like. I don't care about. I like.
By the way, there's an argument out there that, listen, well, she's traditional Indian, right? Like, and all of these other different, like, what with that same person who's doing this to her husband, right? There's no family that's there, right? She's just doing a selfie video, but then gets on up on a podcast and talks about
Same thing
not
you're talking about.
masturbating to her husband, right? That's baller that you can do that as she was.
Yeah, and my thing, like I said, you will you won't have display of affection with your husband, but you will talk about your co-host husband's penis, the size of it, and how you want to have an orgy with them. So
I
you'll
don't.
get
I
on
don't.
on the internet and talk about
Right.
that on the internet on 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 Zuckerberg's internet. You hop on the internet and talk about that.
Right.
But you won't you won't let your husband kiss you on the cheek on camera.
Right. Right. Flag on the play. This is unacceptable behavior.
These things do not. Something is wrong here. There's something does not compute with this.
Yeah. I think it's kind of starting to break down the marriage itself. Well, I think we've kind of been doing that, but
I think he has, to be honest, and it's one of the points I was making was I think he has some self-esteem
yeah,
issues, some self-worth
yeah,
issues,
yeah,
because the fact that he keeps trying to do these things, even though he's been getting results he's been getting, I think there's some self-esteem issues there. I don't know if he's a masochist and just likes being hurt, or he thinks he deserves this. I don't know which one it is, but it's like if every time a camera's been on it and I go to lean to kiss you and you juke me, this is like, like you're an NFL running back type situation. It's like,
yeah,
bro, at a certain point, I'm gonna stop trying.
yeah.
Because I'm
I
gonna
think
stop
it
trying.
goes
I'm gonna
back
stop trying.
to
Why don't you ever try and kiss me? It's like, are you serious right now?
yeah.
Are we
I
playing?
think
Am I being punked by somebody right now?
yeah.
No. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
I think it goes back to his attachment style and whatever has happened to him in the past. You know what I mean? It's like, just like how we said, we've been simps before. We've done all the lovey-dovey stuff and it didn't get those results. But if you have a certain attachment style, it's the way when people don't love you the way you want to be loved, it's an issue, right? But you can't really force that person to love you the way that you want to be loved. So, but if you have an internal wound that says that I need to cater to all these people, I need to do all this stuff, and then they'll love me. I need to go out and buy expensive rings and do fancy trips and always hold the door open and make sure she's cool and all her needs are met. Like women don't actually want that. It looks good. It looks fantastic because they're going to show all their friends and oh look what he did for me and look what you didn't get. It's very much a comparison game sometimes. But if as a man, speaking especially as a man, when you say I really desire to be loved this way and you don't get it, some men will just keep putting money into that machine until that other person finally decides to give them what they want. But it doesn't work that way, man. And that's the hard part, is because everybody has their own attachment styles and the ways that they, whether it's what's the love language? That's what I'm looking for. Everybody has their own love language, but you should try to get somebody who is as compatible as they can be, but trying to force your love language on somebody else is hard, you know? So if speaking as somebody who loves PDA, my wife might not love PDA the way that I do. And I got to respect that because it's like a boundary thing. But if it's not in public, I'm gonna go ham because I love to be touchy feely and hugs and love and all that kind of stuff. But there is a point where you got to be like, hey, you can't be all crazy out in public either because that this might not be their style. But when it's something like this is flagrant. This feels like I don't even know the term for it, but
An
it
NFL
feels.
stiff arm.
You said what?
That's an NFL stiff arm.
Yeah,
That's how it looks.
it's a straight up Heisman. Like that's, I'm not getting that, but it's like that's crazy.
What it looks like is a woman who does not like you, that you're trying to interact with, that you're trying to get some
Yeah.
affection from. She doesn't like you, bro. She, like I said, I'm coming from the place of like trying to get affection and trying to get a response out of women who did not like me in the past.
Mhm.
I've done that. Luckily, that was a long time ago, another lifetime ago. But I've seen it. This woman is very obvious that this woman does not like you. I've tried to show, not like walking up and trying to kiss them and different things like that. But women can make it very apparent when they don't like you.
Yeah.
I've talked to women. They're like, this guy keeps calling me, or I went on a date with them, and he just keeps trying to push the issue, and I've let him know that I'm not interested and everything like that. We're dumb. A lot of us, we're dumb. And willingly dumb. It's one of those things I've told him is like, you got to make it very apparent. You can't be nice with dudes. I've told women this is like, when you're talking to a dude and you're not interested in him, make it very clear from jump that you're not interested in him. You got to be almost rude with it, that you don't like this dude. And from the body language I'm seeing with her, she's doing that. She's making it very apparent. Like I said, if you watch these videos with no sound, no context, you didn't know who these guys were, you wouldn't assume that these two were married. Mm-hmm. Tell me you would. Tell me you would assume, to anybody on the stream or anything like that, write in the comments. Would you assume, if we turned the volume off and you guys didn't know this dude's name and knew they were married and everything like that, would you guys, in these videos that we've seen so far of them interacting together, would you think that they're married?
Yeah.
No signs will point to that. None. No signs will point to that. So this dude is doing stuff with a woman who is blatantly showing him that she does not like him in her actions and in her words.
Mm-hmm.
It's very obvious that this woman she's not into you, bro. She's not. So if this turns out to just be one of those loveless marriages, then I guess you're just in that, homie. If that's you. It's like, but right now you're in it. This woman loves the things that you can do for her, but she does not love you.
That is a hard thing for men to realize because a lot of what we have to provide to this world is our actions.
Yeah.
Like we are being not okay, let me back up. We're not being forced. We're not being forced to cater to the world, but in a way we are. Like it is our actions, even for other men. If I couldn't do what I do, I'm not valuable to you or any other group of men to do this thing. So my value is based off of how I can provide that to both men and women. Yeah. Oh, sorry. So it can be very hard for a man to accept that, like, is it really about me or is it what I can do for you? You know what I mean? And when you see these rich guys with these women, especially younger women, and that's the thing, they already said that there's like a almost 10-year age gap, 9-year age gap. But it's not gonna hit the same where like if a woman is dating an older dude, she expects him to be successful to a point because then he can take care of her. But she's not providing a whole lot outside of sex, being pretty, looking good for him because he's already successful, arm candy, all that kind of stuff. And it sucks because women are being heavily objectified. But it's the stuff that like a man has to do to even become in the same arena as the people who he wants to interact with, man or female. So like you said, if you don't have the self-respect, if you have a lot of doubts about yourself, if you're not getting the love that you want for you as a person, you will settle for, well, I'm rich. Women will like me because I'm rich. There's a lot of psychologists talk about that too, as a as a man, you think about like all the red pill guys, all women ain't shit, all they want you for your money and all that stuff. Well, I'm gonna get rich and fit and do all this stuff. You're still kind of feeding into what they want. You just don't want to give it to them. Like they're still the fuel, and you know that by getting all this stuff, you're gonna be able to be in a better arena to get what you want. But then at the, you're gonna be lying awake at night, like, well, do they love me or they love my muscles and my money? You
Yeah.
know,
And
Akash has
it's
got
one of those
money,
things
he ain't got no
it's one of those
muscles.
things we talk about in the
So
course, man. We talk about it in
yeah,
the course all the time. It's like you gotta be the guy that you want to be before you can get into any type of relationship successfully.
mhm,
And not have issues. Because you can get into these relationships obviously and not be a guy who moves with integrity, who's honorable, who knows his purpose and has goals and everything like that, and is one of those guys that tries to bring people into his life, not just in relationships, not just a girlfriend or a wife, but friends and coworkers, because he's done that seemingly successfully in other areas of his life. Like getting
mhm.
into the what's the podcast he does with Andrew Schultz.
Flagrant with
Yeah,
Andy
the
Schultz.
Flagrant
Yeah.
podcast. It's like, even though they go in on each other and everything like that, they're all heading towards a mission with that thing. So he's
Mhm,
aligned himself in other areas of his life, with his career, getting out there and doing comedy and being successful at it, having being on TV and doing these different shows like that. It's like, so, but you're not bringing that same energy into a relationship by being a guy who actually is worth respecting, because that's the thing. It's like, you can't complain about somebody not showing you respect if you're not a guy who's worth respecting.
yeah,
Because if
100%.
he's taking this from her, what is he doing to himself? Because there's a piece of it that I want to get into. I have to track it down, where he was talking about how he was abusing himself, early into this relationship. I'm just trying to
Mhm.
see if I can track that down real quick. But while I do, we'll enjoy this, and definitely get the course. It's like, it's like, if you don't want to have the same results that Akash is having, definitely get the 8 Inner Gates shameless plug, because we as two reform simps, we definitely put a lot into that to keep guys from going through these hard times.
Yeah.
But we're gonna take a quick little
Before we get
moment to
I
yeah,
wanted to be
Oh
first.
wow, not the song.
bro.
Oh God.
I had
I
to.
wanted to
What?
So they
be
made a song about
your
this dude.
last.
This is how
Yeah.
they're flaming him on the internet right now. Had to do it.
You were popping P every week for white boy. There's gonna be some dancing, baby. Every week.
Is this AI?
I ain't divorcing
Terrible.
you. Can't afford to pay. Embarrassing me on a dead price. Now that's flagrant. Got my
Now
wife.
that's flagrant.
Got my wife. Yeah, she bad. She
And the
don't like
video.
me. Yeah, she
Ah.
don't. That's alright. I'm a simp. Got my wallet. Rich. Got my wife. Yeah, she bad. She don't like me. Yeah, she brown. That's alright.
Mm,
That's
mm.
alright.
I'm mad it's
Oh,
a
it's a
bop too.
banger too.
I love Afro Preach.
Right.
Make sure she got good taste.
Oh no, they made a video.
Y'all at social media, you and your wives, oh no. You and your husbands, oh no. You and your marriages, oh no. You and your lives, oh no. For life, oh no. For free, oh no.
Bro, when you start
And the
getting
vibes too.
songs made about how big of a simp you are, I'm
Right.
so glad AI and the internet was not that big of a thing when I had my phases. I am so
For
glad,
real.
bro. You know how many women
This
would have
is
put me on the internet?
diabolical and
It'd have been
genius at the
embarrassing.
same time.
Like, we had cell phones, but it wasn't that time where people were like popping them out, putting you on
Right.
blast while you were just like, look at this dude. I
Trying
can't
to live
believe
your life.
Yo, they made a
it's so
Euro
sad.
drop in AI.
That's alright.
Anyway, I had to do it, bro.
Yeah.
I had to.
That's funny.
It's too funny. It is too funny. Oh man. But we had a time, man. We can't take this shit too seriously, bro. Because at the end of the day, man, this dude's making a choice. He is actively making a choice for himself right now, and it's like, and it's unfortunately one that he's making on the internet.
Mhm.
Like I said, it's an unfortunate thing, but at the same time, it's a learning lesson, bro. This is one of those moments that we can all learn from as guys. I hope. Please learn from this.
Yeah,
Please learn from
for
this.
sure. Yeah.
Um, not to be this dude locked in like this, because at the end of the
Hmm.
day, the fact that this got to marriage is sad. Yeah.
Yeah,
Luckily, luckily they don't have kids.
that's true. That's don't you can't hurt the babies. Like I don't want this to be another Aisha Curry situation where all the kids catch even the baby caught a strike. You know, I never wanted kids, and then like turn to the camera, look at all your children looking at you.
Yeah. Because
You
just
know.
imagine how bad that would have been if if they had if she had messed around and got pregnant,
Hmm.
during this whole thing. That you throw kids into the mix with this, bro, this would be a atomic disaster. Right
Yeah,
now it's just a slaughter. Right now
yeah,
it's just a slaughter. Slaughtering him, slaughtering his career, all those things. But if you throw some kids into the mix of this, bro, imagine how much more leverage she would have over him on this. So not only was she buying stuff for him, but that baby rolling around at Gucci, she be treating that baby like a designer chihuahua, probably.
yeah, yeah.
All his
Yeah.
money be gone.
Like hit myself.
My husband's balls smell like oh my god. I hope he's not.
Sure. But like I like hit myself a couple of times like a maniac, and like that's not gonna make you feel safe either. No. So it was a lot of therapy. As soon as we got together, I'd been thinking about therapy for a while, and I realized I love this girl, and I don't even think I knew how much until therapy. But like I was like, yeah, I love this girl. This girl I want to make it work with. I can't let this get in the way. So I started therapy 2016, I think.
Further ado, this was recorded on a podcast just 4 months ago.
Tell me about your relationship with your wife. What's that like?
A lot of work, a lot of therapy. We love each other so much. We're like deeply in love, and it's like
Who's he
we
trying to
laugh
convince?
all the time. But both of us grew up in like, and again, I'm talking about this in the next special. It was like turbulent households for both of us. We don't need to get too personal, but yeah, it's turbulent. So we didn't have any tools. Our fights would get crazy. Like I am very calm with her until I'm not, and then it's hard for me to cap the anger.
0 to 100 in a second.
0 to 100.
0 to 0 for 10 days and then
She never felt unsafe like I would hit her.
Sure.
But like I like hit myself a couple of times like a fucking maniac, and like that's not gonna make you feel safe either.
No.
So it was a lot of therapy. As soon as we got together, I'd been thinking about therapy for a while, and I realized I love this girl, and I don't even think I knew how much until therapy. But like I was like, yeah, I love this girl. This girl I want to make it work with. I can't let this get in the way. So I started therapy 2016, I think, and then it didn't even really take hold. I feel like until like 2019, and then 2021 I felt in like whatever 2024 2025 I'm feeling more and more like
It's a lot of them.
it's just one of my couples therapists we had said all therapy is trying to get your emotions into words. A lot of times you get angry, but you're not actually angry. You're feeling I'm insecure about this thing, and then you said that thing and it hurt my feelings, and it's coming out as anger. But if I could just say, hey, you know what, I'm insecure about this thing, and you said that and it kind of hurt my feelings, it's a whole different fight. And that's what so much of what we're trying to work on. And my girl still pops off. For me, it's trying to stay patient through that and hearing her, and then because again, she grew up not feeling like anybody's looking out for her. She's not feeling protected. So she has to fight for herself. So it's my job to try to listen to that, take that in. And then
No, it's not.
I also said to her, I got a real thing with scorekeeping.
Okay, before he gets into the scorekeeping, tell me y'all picked up on this. As a result of this man becoming so upset with his wife, well, I guess at that time it'd be his girlfriend's behavior, he admits to hitting himself. He didn't go into detail, but he admitted it.
With AI, you can create any character
And
you want.
the thing, man, is like you're a dude, because he said he was in his 30s when they met.
Mhm.
So you're a dude in your 30s hitting yourself.
Yeah. That's
We're
the
not
thing.
talking about
You-
we're not talking about some dude, some teenager, or some dude in his
Yeah.
20s getting so angry that you got to hit yourself. We're talking about a dude in his 30s.
You don't have to do any of that stuff. It's the same way like when I see somebody who cuts themselves. It's like you feel like I assume, or this is my synopsis from people that I've talked to who have cut themselves. You feel like you have no control anywhere else, that you cause yourself your own pain, and that's how you kind of work through that. Like we said, men do not have the opportunity to be as emotionally mature as some women. And I'm not saying that she's mature, but he didn't get what he needed either. So for you to be in your 30s with behavior like that, you said that's a lot of therapy. He needs a lot of therapy, bro. It's not just about the marriage. He should be doing his own like individual therapy if he's not to get
Sounds
past
like
that
he
stuff.
did. Sounds like he did. I
Yeah,
don't know if
but
she did. It sounds like
yeah,
he
no,
did.
she did. She was only going if he paid for it. So, you know what I mean? But and I bet that was his idea too. I don't see her saying, let's go to therapy. She's saying, let's go to Zales. You know, let's go to this. You know, she's not worried about that. Like she's like, you do whatever you got to do to get you to where you keep spending money on me, is what I'm
Mhm.
hearing.
Yeah. It's just wild, man. It's like to see this scenario play out, and like I said, the fact that it's not just this scenario. We've seen it with the Will and Jada thing, and now the Aisha Curry, thing, and now you got Oshkosh Bagash, hitting himself in the face. Is like, stop it, stop, and I joke with it, but at the same time, it's like, um, for those who I don't think I ever brought it up, but because of my eyesight, I was in special ed for like most of my all through school. And so it's like it's a weird thing being a guy who I'm just in special ed in these rooms just because I can't see, but you sit next to the dude with the helmet, that's doing this, to
Yeah.
himself, and I'm sitting there like, is nobody going to stop him from doing this? Type of this. So I've seen it play out, where it's just like, this dude's just hitting himself, and it's like, so I'm wondering, like, okay, does this dude have is there some mental stuff going on? Is like, are you, and it's one of those things you've seen now with more comedians, where it's kind of like, are you on the spectrum in some kind of way? Is there something going on with that? Or are you just not able to regulate your emotions to the point where you act like a little boy and you're gonna hit yourself in the face when you get mad? Because I've seen little kids, I've seen little kids do that, but the only like more older men I've seen do that are guys like in special ed and different things like that, who have like learning disabilities
It's
and
mental issues. Yeah.
mental handicaps and stuff like that. This is only like growner males that I've seen do that, actually hit themselves. Well, maybe like a fighter, like, what do you want, man? And it's like, but even then, I think you're special. If you were in an
Right.
argument and you punch yourself, I don't think you're crazy. I think you're special.
Yeah.
It's like,
I
so
used to say you
where,
got jumped by two people.
huh?
Then I used to say you got jumped by two people.
Yeah, no, right. It's like, so you can kick your ass, bro. Kick your ass is probably not a great move, bro.
Right.
It's like, but yeah. So I'm wondering, like, what does this dude got going on inside him? Like, so that even with like that therapy, it's like you still see like, is he taking accountability for his action? It also sounds like he's taking accountability for her actions as well. And that's my beef with therapy. It's like, you are not responsible for somebody else's actions. They need to be responsible for their actions. Even in a
Yeah.
relationship, if I get mad, and let's say in our business relationship, if I get mad and Edmund gets mad, I'm responsible for my shit. I'm responsible for me, how I interact with him. I'm not responsible for how he interacts with me.
Mhm.
Even if I say something or do something to piss you off, how you react to it is on you. Now, what I
Mhm.
said and what I did is on me, but how you react to it is on you. If we get in an argument and you get so mad that you punch me in the face, I'm not responsible for you getting so upset that you can't control your hands.
Mhm. Right.
I'm responsible for for you getting out of pocket and taking stuff to a certain level, but I'm not responsible for you actually punching me in the face.
Mhm.
Like, I'm sorry I made you punch me in the face. No, I'm not gonna do that. Absolutely not. We're not playing that game. You're responsible for
Yeah, I
your
hate that. Like, look what you made me do. Like, I
yeah,
hate that. I hate that
yeah,
term
yeah.
so much. We heard of the Roger Jackson thing. He's like, you guys made me emasculate my son on live. Like, what?
Hmm. Yeah,
That's your kid.
you got for your actions. I'm saying like
Yeah.
it's on me because she grew up in a way that she didn't feel secure and everything. Like, it's okay, cool. So you interact in a different kind of way, but you're not responsible for the way she reacts. You just said she still pops off. How is
Mhm.
how have you both of you guys been in therapy, but yet she's still popping off? Is
Yeah.
So that means she's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
So
She's not.
that
She's
gets
not taking the hints and all that. Yeah. So what do you think is like? What is this going to cost them? What is going to be the aftermath of all the
his
situation?
next Netflix special.
Yeah, that's for sure. That bag is going down, for sure. And
Hon- Honestly, when
I
when
don't
I
understand.
see when I see these guys, it almost like watching these videos. It's almost like I could see like money, like a register, like negative $4,000, negative 20,
Mm-hmm.
negative $1 million, because he's gonna be losing a lot of opportunities with this. Just even like there's some podcasts probably that would have invited him on, because they thought he was funny and liked his perspective and everything like that are not gonna do that now. Or the people, I mean, just the fact that people are talking about him, but they're talking, they're making fun of him and not
Yeah.
not in a not in and they're less focused, especially for a guy who's in comedy. It's one of those things they say, there's no bad advertising. There's no,
Yeah.
all advertising is good advertising. Whether you get, you're on the bad side of the headlines or the good side of the headlines. I'm not necessarily on that, because his reputation is getting destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Is the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is like his reputation with his fan base and a lot of guys that would have rocked with him and everything like that is getting destroyed right now because of watching him interact. And like I said, some of the stuff he's saying now, people are going back and listening to stuff he said about Will Smith and probably Curry and different things like that, and the mess he was talking about them, and then you got your own stuff going on, bro. That's not a good look. You look like a damn hypocrite out here with the way he was talking about Will Smith and his situation and everything like that. Is how do you stay and da 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 da? I got a woman doing these different things and blah blah blah. He's a simp. He's a cock and all these different things like that he was saying. And you got your own stuff going on, bro. It's like that's not a good look. That people have lost a lot of respect for you. And like it's just one of those things we talk about in the course is like, if you don't respect yourself, nobody else is going to respect you. The big difference is his has been online. We can see that this man doesn't respect himself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Most people's it's a secret. Most dudes, the fact that they don't respect themselves is a secret that only like the people around them know. We now know that this dude doesn't respect himself because of the stuff he's taken with his wife.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not even like he can't recover from it, because all he would have to do is leave and then to work on himself, give it a couple of years, and then you
What are
find a
the
woman
odds of him doing that? What do you think are the odds of him actually leaving her?
A man can dream. Okay, these are my dreams for him. This is what I want for him. I want him to leave her. I want him to get some help, and I want him to find a woman that will respect him and will love him and give him what he needs, because that's what every man wants. Every man wants a woman that will respect him and love him and show him that affection, and or that to be his backup. You know what I mean? And if you're doing all this success by yourself, she's not even contributing to it. If you can be successful like this on your own, I think you've proven that you don't need her,
Yeah.
kind of thing. You know what I mean? But it is but what he's really gonna need is to set some
good lawyer.
really a good lawyer. And to set some, she was like, it's my money. Like any woman like that, I'm immediately finding a way to save as much money as possible, outside of that, because I can't do that. But if he, let's say hypothetically, he does, smarten up and goes the better route, he's gonna have to set some real standards and look out for those signals. So like that signal versus standard is like that public defensiveness, the clapbacks, the online wars. What are you signaling the shaky standards about what you're saying on these podcasts? You're gonna have to realign yourself basically, because everything that he did with Will Smith and all that, people are gonna keep bringing that up. But for how you're gonna move forward, you're like, well, that was the old me. Like sometimes that's all you can say. But you're gonna have to set some real standards for whoever comes into your life, man or female, after that.
He got to set some damn standards for himself first.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this dude needs an ayahuasca trip or something like that, but this dude, maybe therapy isn't working for you, bro. Maybe you need to go hop into the Peruvian jungle and go take some ayahuasca, get those demons out. It was funny. I was thinking when we were talking about him leaving her. If he tries to leave her, bro, she's already destroying him now. Can you imagine the monster that she's gonna be if he tries to leave her? The absolute monster. Because here's the thing, and we watched it. We watched it with Jada. We watched it with Aisha, and we watched it with her. There's two ways to build. There's two ways to have the biggest building in the city. You either go up against the other ones and you build yours higher than everybody else, or if you aren't talented enough or capable enough to do that, you try and tear everybody else's building down.
Yeah.
And the fact that she has a podcast and the most engaging, the most viral clip she has on her podcast is talking noise about her husband. says a lot. The fact that you have to tear this dude down to try and build up your stuff. So
Right.
you're taking this dude who has this, massive career now, much more than yours will ever be with you and your podcast. It's very obvious because he's just not that entertaining, to be real about it.
She don't do nothing.
Other than her saying some wild stuff.
She don't do nothing. I don't even know what
Yeah,
her co-host is. Is she a model? Does
I
she
have no idea.
sing?
I have no
Is
idea.
she also, what does her
Probably,
husband do?
probably
Kind of thing.
kept
Like
wives.
why was this the thing that you thought you should do? Is always what comes to mind when I see these wives go on these podcasts. Why is this the thing? And here's the thing, kind of like how heroes, like a good story doesn't, if there's nothing to fight for a hero, it doesn't make a good story. So
Yeah.
if you are the hero in your own story and you don't have a villain, you make one up. And you chose your
Or you
husband,
become it.
or you become it, but you chose your husband to be the butt of all your jokes and all that shit. And the reason why I say it doesn't matter is because if he does what everybody would want him to do, which is leave and find some self-worth and self-love and self-respect and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, she's gonna talk shit, but that's what we're gonna expect. And yeah, we're gonna tune into it as a society, not me personally,
Oh,
because I
she's
don't
gonna
care
do
about
more
this
than
shit.
talk shit. She's gonna do way more than talk shit.
Oh, for sure.
If
And
she,
she'll
if she,
take his money
if
and
she,
all.
I think it's
She'll do
worse
all
than
this
that.
stuff.
Honestly,
Whatever she does, but like, sorry, but like, whatever she does, it's not really gonna matter as long as he moves forward. Because there's gonna be a whole bunch of fanfare and what do they call it, humiliation ritual and all that stuff. That's gonna keep happening. But if he can get himself right, staying is not the answer.
mhm.
Staying is that all I'm really saying is staying is not the answer. Getting out
Yeah,
of there as with whatever you can grab is most likely going to be the best thing he can do for himself.
yeah. Well, what I was saying was that as much as she's already destroying him in this marriage, she's gonna be the type she's gonna turn into a different monster. If he decides to divorce him. It's like she honestly she makes me think of one of those ones that's like it might be cheaper just to take her out to decide, pay somebody to take her
Maybe,
out, pay somebody to
maybe,
take her out of the equation. It's just like, she went to
yeah.
India and never came back. It's just either pay her off or pay for her to disappear.
Hmm.
I'm joking,
Hmm.
of course, but she's gonna make this dude's life hell. And just
Hmm.
like I said, just the stuff that if she supposedly likes him right now, and just the stuff that she's saying right now, like I said,
Yeah.
to really destroy him. Imagine how that's gonna be, if he decides like, I'm gonna have some self esteem and some self integrity, and I'm actually gonna leave you some self respect,
Hmm.
dude. It's gonna be a whole another monster. So I he definitely needs to. I just don't look forward to it. It's like that's gonna be hell for him.
Yeah.
It's like he might need to go back to India for a little while when that if that goes on.
I don't. I Part of me, I don't know how long it would go on for, and that's the part that's hard. You don't know how long it's going to be like that when she becomes that monster. But on the back end of it, it has to be better, right? Like, because it's the money's going to be an issue for sure. But I think he can get over that. I think he's talented enough, at least, to be able to get over that. Still,
Hmm.
how couldn't tell you, but I think he'll be okay.
Yeah.
Um, but it will be that public beef that we'll see, that syndrome for a long time. We'll get more reactions out of people for it. They'll milk it for all they can for the views and all that good stuff. But when it finally dies down, I think he'll be in a better place for it, if that is what happens. But the the arguments and the lack of boundaries and the crazy stuff that she's doing, man, I don't want to see anybody go through that. Public figure or not. I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it's good for any man to have to go through that, because either he becomes crazy and the wife does go missing, or I don't even know what the other alternative is, or she just takes all his money and he's a broken man at the end of the day.
Well, the alternative is he's already said that he's obviously been willing to do violence to himself. So there is another alternative that we're not
Mm,
allowed to bring up on the internet because they will flag us. But um, men delete themselves in situations like this. When she either decides to leave, because I think it's more likely that she'll leave him before he leaves her. To be real
mm,
about it,
mm. I can see that.
She might run off with her co-host and her husband before he leaves her.
I'm trying to figure out what the friend is. What does she think of all this on top of that? Because like, not only does she hate her husband, she's thirsting after yours, and it doesn't even seem like she's that attracted to you. So, so like, what is happening right now? You know?
Yeah, it ends up in a wild thing. But yeah, I guess so. What we basically boil this down to is prize worship versus like actually finding a teammate, finding somebody who's actually playing on your side. We put an emphasis on that. Somebody that's playing on your side, not their
Mhm.
side, on your side.
Right.
You know, somebody that wants you to win. Because honestly, I don't think these ladies who hop on here, I don't think they want them to win. I think they feel like they're better than the men they married, and then they want them to be successful because it makes their lives better, but only to a point. A lot of times, people don't want to, and it's unfortunately, some people in this world don't want to see you do better than what they think they're capable of. And
Hmm.
when they do, you'll either find yourself distance from them, or they'll try and tear you down. And this is
And
one
it's
of those. These are three instances where I definitely can say these women are trying to tear the men down, who they think they are better than, who gain
yeah,
way more success than they believe they're capable of themselves, and they want to bring them back down to a level that they think that they can achieve. It's like, we're gonna
yeah,
be together. You're gonna be playing only at the level that I think I can achieve for myself,
yeah.
because they don't like them.
But what I don't understand about this is that of the three, if we're talking about Jada, Aisha, and Jasleen,
Hmm.
Jasleen is the least productive of the because I don't she don't model, she don't act, she don't sing, she's not in anybody's movies, she doesn't even have kids. So it's like, what is it that this man? Because I've only heard him talk about her looks.
Hmm.
You know, like, oh, she was beautiful, she was out of my league, all this stuff. But that's it. Like that's as much skill as she had, and that's something that you're born with. That wasn't even something that you could cultivate. So what is it that ties you so heavily to her if all she does is look pretty and talk shit? You know, so for these people who are like, oh well, I'm the prize or I'm the table and all this stuff, most of the time people who talk that way don't have anything on that table. They don't have anything to give outside of what they can do physically for
Hmm.
you. She's not even emotionally or psychologically supportive of him, So I'm like, what? And the reason why I harp on that for real is because I've also been in a situation where it's like, oh, she's beautiful. I want to give her all the stuff and I want to love her. And then like um as my life goes on, I reflect on those situations. I was like, she didn't see any of that in herself either. You know what I mean? It's like she felt like, oh, the only thing that she had as far as talent was her body.
Hmm.
So was I just in lust with her or was I actually in love with her? And if the guys aren't making that distinction, you find yourself in situations like this. I need to have you around me because I like looking at you. That's not enough because she's also not supporting him for nothing. She's not doing anything to show that she's a teammate on that. No matter how successful he is, he's doing it by himself. He is in that marriage by himself.
Yeah, and I think on another hand, it's not just the fact of she's something nice to look at. It's also she makes me look a certain way, because guys,
Like trash.
whether we want to admit it or not, is like we value how other guys view us.
Mm,
And a lot of times, guys, when they get with women who are nothing but attractive or look good or look sexy or anything like that, and don't bring any other value to us, unless you're keeping them at home and you never step out with them, I'm thinking it's like you're looking for something that makes you look better.
mm,
It's the thing you and I talk about is like, for a lot of guys, it's like, are you wanting to look better? Or are you wanting to be better? Is like a
mm,
lot of guys are running around here trying to look better. It's the reason why will take a lot of guys in business will take a high class escort to a dinner party versus their
right,
wife, because the
right.
escort makes them look a certain, makes them look like they are able to achieve hard things. I'm able to conquer not only the business world, but I'm also attractive to to this certain level of woman, versus maybe his wife is more homely looking or everything, or maybe something like that, or maybe he doesn't have a wife. It's like maybe he's just taking that somebody's going to make him look. They would say, make me look good,
Mm, mm,
make me look good. And it's like, and that's one of those things that I think in scenarios like this can definitely be for him. I think one big aspect of him getting with her was because of how he feels that he looks and he is, and the low value he has for himself. He got with somebody that he thought would bring him up a standard. Is that, well, I might not be the best looking dude in the world. I might not be the best dude in the world or have the best personality, but look at my wife. Look at her. It's like, she proves that I can do hard things. I can get something that's hard to obtain, supposedly. So I think a lot of guys who do that, there's some insecurity there that really they're not admitting to themselves. It's not just me looking at this thing. I want the world to see me as more valuable. So I'm with this person, even though they don't bring me value, the actual value.
Well, on that we agree. You are doing a hard thing because you are putting up with a pretty piece of shit. You are putting up with a woman that looks. I can't even say she's beautiful. Honestly, she's beautiful to him. That's great, but her behavior is very shitty in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not a good trade-off, because that, I don't know if it's just movies that I've seen or the people that I've interacted with, but it's always like that. It's this gorgeous woman who has just a not great personality or doesn't do great actions, and they kind of coast off of their looks, which is, kudos to you, but by the time you turn 30, you better have a personality. Otherwise, it's gonna be hard out here. You know? So it's just that prize worship versus that partnership. It has to be. It has to be. Sorry, I forgot what I was trying to say. You can't prize worship. It has to be a partnership. You want somebody who's going to be on your team, help you build the family and the lifestyle that you want to have, and have that peace in your home, man, because that peace is paramount. But you're not going to get peace if you're just constantly giving to somebody who doesn't want to give anything to you or give back or reciprocate in any type of way. So if you just, so that we're clear, when you have the prize worship signs, you overperform. You do big gestures like Akash did, and don't get that feedback for it, or the love and respect that you need for it. You fear honest conflict. They're probably gonna say something that's super hurtful, like he said. If she's saying what she's saying and he can't react to it to the point where he's beating on himself, that's not productive. You abandon your mission just to keep that peace, and you're like, you know what? She doesn't want me to go on this road show so that she can be or I could be home with her or whatever. Fine, I'm gonna sacrifice the money that I can make with her just to have a little bit of peace. That's not gonna work, because she's gonna hate you when the money's gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, what do you want? And you in that public posturing to prove worth. Like you said, she's on my arm. I'm in public. Then this is, look at me. I can get a baddie, but at home you're miserable. So if you're wanting a partner, the thing that you should be looking out for is a shared mission. She actually respects you. You have that mutual respect between each other. You state boundaries. She does as well, because it's not all just with the man. She's able to set boundaries, and you have that calm enforcement where, like he said, where his anger brought him to a point where he would do these kind of off the cuff things. But the conversation of, hey, you hurt my feelings, or you stepped over a boundary, is a way different and more adult conversation than what they've probably been having when they have these issues. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah, a big piece of this goes into how you are internally. Your internal world is always going to match your external world. If he has this much chaos going on outside the world we're seeing, what's going on inside this dude is my thing. Is like, it's like I said, if you're getting to the point where you're, won't hurt yourself because you don't want to bring that to the relationship or whatever, dude. So you got a lot of work to do with yourself. I would definitely say, if he does decide to exit this relationship, or she leaves him, dude, you shouldn't get in a relationship at all for a while until you do the deep work you need to do in yourself.
Yeah.
That we talk about in a lot in the course and in the Legion community. Some of the keys we talk about is having pillars for your life. The thing that holds your life up, the thing that holds your life together, is going to be setting certain standards, certain non-negotiables that you have with yourself, that you set those up. Like, for instance, honor. Are you moving with honor? And some things that we talk about is having your personal honor code. It's one of those things. As a guy, you have to have a code for yourself of things you're willing to accept and not willing to accept. Probably more of the latter. The stuff that you're not willing to take from people, not willing to take from yourself, not willing to take disrespect. If you're out with a woman and she gets out of pocket or says something disrespectful to you, calls you out of your name or everything like that, you have to be willing to stand on that. If that's the thing that you say that you're not willing to accept.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you can't be upset when that keeps happening. It keeps happening. It keeps happening. I talk about a story where I was dating a young lady, and one thing she would say is like we be play arguing and stuff like that, and she'd be like, oh well, if you don't want to do, I'd be like, I'm not doing that. She's like, well, if you don't want to do it, I'll just go out and find someone who will. I'll just go out and find another one. And I was like, and I let that go. She said that once in passing. And I was like, okay, it was obviously a joke. And I was like, good luck with that. And she
Right.
said it again. And I was like, okay, this is twice now that she said this thing to me. It's not just a one-off kind of statement. I was like, okay. And I was like, I think it was like the second or third time she said, I was like, hold on, hold on. I said, I'm gonna need you to stop saying that to me. And she was like, you know what? It was just a joke. I was like, no, 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 no. I said, that's like the second or third time you've said that. I was like, I'm not going to be in any type of situation with somebody where where that's going to get to the point where they're going to start getting disrespectful. So I'm starting to find that disrespectful now. The first time it was a joke.
Mhm.
Second time is like, okay, that's the second time you said it. By the third time, you're getting disrespectful now. Is like, and we're not going to go down that road. It's like I don't play like that with women I deal with, and I definitely am not going to accept them doing that with me. Okay, as like if you want to go be with somebody else, go be with somebody else. That's cool. You go do you. I said, but this whole like, well, I'll just go find another. Like I have no value at all. It's like we're not going to play that game. We're not even going to play like that because I wouldn't say some shit like that to you. So I'm not going to accept you saying something like that to me whether you're playing
Right.
or not. Because people say some wild stuff and just be like, "Oh, just kidding," or "I'm just joking." It's like, no, bro. There's always, and here's my biggest thing that I tell people: there's always some truth to a joke. There's always some truth in there to a joke in a lot of cases, even if it's just a little bit. Especially if you say something on a regular basis or you do something on a regular basis over time you keep saying, oh, it's because you're fat, haha. Or when somebody jokes about themselves being fat, it's like, oh, it's because I'm too fat to fit in the door, ha ha ha. And you hear them keep making jokes about how fat they are. You believe you're fat. You actually believe that. It's like, so you need to
Yeah.
stop saying that about yourself, or even if you say that about somebody else. You know,
Mhm.
the things you say on a repeat basis, where it's not a one off. There's some piece of you that there's some truth there to it, and you
Mhm.
really get you whether it's something you say to yourself or something somebody else says to you. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, stop it, you stupid. Like somebody saying like, it's like, nah, no, 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 no. We're not gonna do that. We're not gonna
Mhm.
do that. We're not gonna have this relationship where there's a secret disrespect going on that's disguised in a joke. We're not even gonna play that game because when people joke like that, a lot of times when they get in an argument, they go to that same place, and it goes from being funny to being hurtful.
Right. Right. I noticed that. I heard this example where big guys would be like, "Oh, a woman loves a big dude when he eats but every time we get in an argument, now I'm a fat big back bill bitch or something like that." Like
Mhm.
it becomes like a lot more hurtful,
Yeah.
And that's the part that sucks is because you did a good thing as far as like seeing where the disrespect could have amplified and you nipped it in the bud.
Hmm.
Whereas Akash, this thing has been building for years, and I've
Yeah.
always thought that like any woman that would disrespect her man in public probably disrespects him in private, and it's been
Oh,
doing it for a long
100%.
time. Because if you won't do nothing in private, you damn sure won't do nothing in public,
Hmm.
unless it's one of these guys who is like emotionally unstable, and then next thing you know, he's on the 5 o'clock news, driving a white Bronco down the highway. But it just becomes sad because they don't know how to set that boundary for themselves. But I think a good place to start is goal mastery. You know what I mean? Figure out who do you actually want to be and what are the goals that you want to have. Because if you have a life mission and you don't make your mission about women and what they can do for you and all that kind of stuff, then you're in a better position to just have a woman join your team instead of making them the mission. You know what I mean? So if you're able to have like a life mastery blueprint, you need a lane for relationships. You know, we talk about the 4S, where it's fitness, faith, finance, and family. Well, family is a part of that relationships. So if you can have a lane for that, and you have at least two goals, you know, two big goals that you want in the next 5 years, let's say, and just start working with that. You know, do you want to be married? Do you just want to have a girlfriend? Do you want to have a family? And start moving towards that, because that way you're not kind of, as you start dating or you get a hold of somebody, you're not just kind of like, well, you're like, what are we? Like, well, we're moving towards this, or they're trying to ask you questions about your life and you don't have anything. That's kind of like not a great sign. You know, if you're on a first date, it's like, hey, so what are your goals? And you don't have any, that person might check you off right there.
Hmm.
Yeah. So if you start to set those goals, you have a place to kind of start to work from.
Yeah, man. And it's one of those things I would definitely tell guys to definitely have a bigger mission than your relationship. 100%. Because
Absolutely.
as much as women say they want to be your priority, they don't want to be your main priority. They don't. They just you can hear women say it all the time, like, "Oh, I want to be the priority." No, you don't. You know, you don't, because then all my attention's on you, and you're eventually going to get sick of it. You know,
Mhm.
it's like there's a song I gotta remember the song where it's like, my girl complain, you know, she's complaining that I'm never at home, but when I'm home, I'm broke.
Right. Right.
It's like
I don't know. Well,
women do
so
not
who
want to
is that?
be the priority. So I've heard women say, like, especially being around the military, it's like the reason my marriage works is because he's not home all the time.
Mhm.
It's like, if, you know, people, why are you always up under me? Da da da. You know, when dudes are always spending time and always focused on women, that's when it's like, oh, he's like, I love him, but he's clingy and he's always up underneath me. You know, it's
Yeah.
like he's always trying to spend time. He never you know, doesn't have any hobbies or any friends. It's like it's just always on me. It's just always on me. That is not a good place you want to be. Women
Yeah.
do not and should not be your main priority. She should be a priority, but in the hierarchy, she should not be number one. A woman should
Mhm.
never be your number one priority. Wife, mom, sister, I don't care who it is, daughter even, should not be your main priority. They
Mhm.
need to be lower down on that list for us to stay sane, for us to do the
Mhm.
things we need to do and be successful, to even take care of them. Because if you're so focused on your wife
Facts.
and what she's doing and trying to stay in contact and doing all these things, are you going to be the best at your job? No. If you're
Yeah.
so focused on what your wife is doing at home, and you gotta, you know, oh, you told her you're gonna clean the toilet and all these different things like that. I hope she doesn't wake up and figure out that I didn't do the laundry. And if you're so focused on at home that even while you're at work, your work is gonna suffer.
Hmm. Even
You know,
religious women say that. You
yeah.
know, they're like they want a God-fearing man. That means they put God first because they're putting God first. You know, so it's like even in those situations, even like the most devout situations, they don't want to be number one.
Hmm. Yeah, man. So it's like, so you gotta have that hierarchy. You know, you gotta, and that's gotta be a part of your goals too. Is like, okay, what's my main priority? And you know, me looking at me being, you know, the single guy in our duo, I'm looking at like, how do I when I meet a woman, make it very clear without being, you know, just a dick.
Yeah.
That you're not the main priority. It's like, look, it's like, you know, even if I love you and all these different things like that, it's like the mission comes first. It has
Hmm.
to. It has to. For me to be the man that you can respect, that I respect, the mission has to come first. You
Hmm.
know, it's like the mission is what's going to build our lives and get us to where we want to be and take care of the family and do these different things like that. The mission, whatever it may be, you know, whatever you feel like your purpose is, that you need to figure out before you really dig into um, getting that. Because if we look at, you see an example, is like, if his complete focus and his priority was his comedy, his career, his different things like that. We've seen the results that he's gotten. He's been on TV, he's been in movies, he's, has one of the biggest podcasts is part of one of the biggest podcasts on the internet. These different things like that. He's done specials. If his main focus and his main priority was that, and he wasn't chasing after her, if he wasn't spending the time chasing after her that he would be probably 10 times bigger than he is right now.
Hmm.
Everybody
Hmm.
would know his name, and not for the bullshit that's going on right now.
Right. Right. For sure. Yeah,
And
man. And
he's,
it's
yeah.
just it's Honestly, I guess that's pretty much it. At least for that one, man, because that goal mastery is huge, And even the last thing I'll say on that is that even a woman wants you to have a purpose that is higher than both of you, because then she has that security that you
Mhm.
are focused on something that's not gonna. Because if you can put your attention on her like that, what's to say that you won't get distracted by another woman and feel the exact same way and have that same cycle continue? So if the majority of your energy is on your work and how you're going to be able to provide for your family or your woman or whatever the situation is for you, that is a better level of security than her knowing that your world revolves around her because she's not stable. You
Yeah.
know, it's and that's not to say like that she's crazy, but like she doesn't have that stability within herself most of the time. So that's why she looks to you to be able to do that. And your mission has to be a part of that.
Hmm. Yeah, and women, you'll probably find women that complain about that. But honestly, I think it should be that way. I think if you're focused on your mission like you should be, you're gonna have some times where your lady's gonna complain, and that's how it should be. It's like there's how many times have we been on calls, doing our Friday call. Your wife's like, oh yeah, 5 more minutes. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, that's what you said, an hour ago, type situation.
Right.
There should be some of that going on.
Yeah.
That means that you are pushing, that boundary to that thing. If your woman never complains that you're either not home or spending too much time doing something, then you're probably not focused like you're not probably not locked in like you should be on the thing that's almost one of those things
Yeah.
that should happen. Now it shouldn't be all the time, but there should be comments like, are you working again? You had another meeting?
Hmm.
There should be those moments like that. That lets you know that like she still wants that from you. She
Hmm.
still is craving that time or that attention or something like that from you. That women should have to chase for your attention a bit.
Hmm.
Not saying like, grabbing you at the ankle and like begging you for attention. If you don't spend any time with her, she's gonna go find somebody else who will. Um, but there should be that wanting, that need for attention.
Hmm.
I'm gonna say something controversial, almost like a little kid, to be honest with you, where it's like there should be a little bit of that goes on in the
Hmm.
relationship and kind of, just some game, just some game. Um, but
So as somebody who's married, you're not wrong. And that's kind of the crazy part to say because it's the attachment. It's the attachment that makes you do that. You know what I'm
mhm,
saying? It's the attachment that makes you want to be a part of that person's life all the time. And if not all the time, at least most of the time. But they
mhm,
understand that you have that thing that you're trying to do to put you guys in a better situation.
yeah,
And I'll say something that's kind of controversial as well. You should want that for your lady. You should want when you're going through these hard times, whether you're getting ready for a fight, you're doing business stuff, you're traveling, doing all this crazy stuff. You should also want to be home with your family because that's how it keeps both of you together. Like, okay,
mhm,
we have these missions that we have to serve, and but we're all on the same page. But that doesn't mean that because I'm working like crazy that I don't also want to be up under you. I want to just sit on the couch and you play with my hair while we're eating popcorn or whatever. Like I crave those moments. But I can't always have them because I'm trying to put us in a better, so I'm trying to put us in a bigger house we can do all that stuff in. I want to take you to Jamaica. We can do that on the beach and all this type of stuff. You know what I mean? But it's like it's a two-way street
yes,
ultimately, because that's how you know the love is still there. If I can sit on a meeting with you for 5 hours and not be, looking at my wife as she's passing by and I'm just looking at you, I think that's a problem. you know,
yeah. I mean, why wouldn't you want to look at me though? No, I'm joking.
I mean, I can tell
But
you
no, but
offline,
that, but
but
that, but yeah,
but yeah, I,
you know,
I
so
think that's real.
so
You know,
there has to be a bit of that pull, where it's like almost like having another woman in your life, where she's like there has to be a bit of that jealousy that goes on to keep a woman's attention, honestly.
Mhm.
And it's not one of those things that you do like purposely just for that thing, but you should be moving in a way to where that naturally happens, to where it's like
Mhm.
naturally there's a little bit of like he's always in a meeting, he's always working, he's always doing this thing. It's like if you're on that track, you're probably locked into what you're doing, on purpose. And that's
Mhm.
probably what's gonna, that's probably a path you want to stay on, because the minute you stop that and direct all of your attention to her, that's when all of this is gonna be put on hold, and she's actually probably gonna lose attraction to you more than anything. She might be really grateful for it in women like that in small doses. That's what I've discovered. Women like that all attention on me in very small and micro dose. You want a micro dose, maximum attention.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like if you're sitting there watching a movie, maximum attention. If you guys are, in the bedroom, maximum attention. That's not the time to be answering calls from work and stuff like that. Maximum attention. You guys
Yeah.
are, if she's in the shower and you hop in the shower with her and help her wash her back, maximum attention.
Right.
But it's micro dosed. It's
Yeah.
micro dosed.
Yeah, for sure. And or do you want to do this next one?
Yeah, the self control, man. You gotta have. We as men have to have self control. It's a mandatory thing. Not just for ourselves, but to keep the other people around us in a good position. A man who does not have self control, a man who's moving around out here recklessly, who is I don't know, wild example, hitting himself when he gets in arguments with his wife, is not a guy who's in self control. If you're not in self control in one area of your life, you're probably going to have that leak into other areas. A guy who's not in self control in relationships is probably not going to be in self control at work or with business or different things like that. And that's when you are going to let things slide, and things are going to happen to where for instance, if a guy's popping off his wife and yelling and arguing and getting to the point where it's like it gets, to a higher level than it needs to go, he's probably gonna do the same thing with business. He's gonna get into, arguments with people that, mess up deals and different things like that because he feels maybe disrespected and gets out of control in that scenario, just like he does at home. I feel disrespected, so I pop off and start yelling at the top of my lungs and screaming or doing crazy stuff, throwing stuff and getting aggressive. Is that you're probably going to do the same thing when it comes to work in a lot of cases. Maybe not at that same level, but you're going to take things farther than they need to get taken. You're going to maybe do the same thing when you're out and about, taking things in a situation with another guy where it doesn't need to go. Is that perceived disrespect because I'm not in control of myself. I will see and step over boundaries that I shouldn't cross.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that self-control is so important, dude, because it becomes, if you can't control yourself, that you become the guy who you're known for not being able to control yourself, and it's not a good look. You know what I'm saying? It can lead to abusive relationships, whether verbally or physically or emotionally, psychologically, all of that stuff. But when you are easy to control when you don't have control of yourself. If anybody can just piss you off, whether it's a comment on a post that you made, or somebody cuts you off in traffic, people know that they can control that. They may not be doing it consciously, but especially for like trolls and for Akash's situation with him being a comedian and all over social media, you think people aren't in his DMs ripping him a new butthole at this point?
Up on
Like
stage
people
doing
are
it
up on stage.
right
He had a
now.
set.
Yep.
Yeah, we saw or we heard about the set that he did where he had to cut it short because all he could think about was this situation, trying to make himself look better and all that kind of stuff, and people can see that. They're like, nah, that's not. You're not. You're putting on a mask right now,
Yep.
trying to get control of it, and instead of just actually controlling it. And if you need to cancel a show or something, just so you can get in the right mental space for that, you need to do that because this is going to mess with your bag even more because of you doing sets like that. So just think about if that's you at work or you with your family, and you do these things trying to put yourself in a better position or a better light, but people already know what's going on and how things are rolling in your household. So like they're not going to respect that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's saying the man who can anger me can control me. And here's the thing: if you can't control yourself, to go to a martial arts, it's like if you can't control yourself, you can't control the fight. If you can't control yourself, you can't control the outcome of a fight that you're in. Just like with this, if you can't control yourself, you can't control the outcome of your business, the outcome of your relationships. If you can't control yourself in any situation that you're in, you can't control that situation at all. You've lost all control in it.
Yeah.
Just like with his marriage, it's like if he can't control himself in that marriage, no wonder his marriage is so out of control, because you can't control yourself, bro. It's like you're talking about, guys talk about all the time, we want to be a leader, lead the house, lead your wife, lead your, kids, all these different things like that. But if you're not controlling yourself, where the hell are you leading these people? Off a cliff?
Right.
You gotta be in control of yourself. You gotta be somebody who can lead himself before you can lead anybody else.
100%.
You know, so it's one of those things, man. Self control is it's not a should with men. It's a must. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you have to be able to control yourself and figure out what is making you, in those scenarios lose control. Maybe figuring out, one good exercise would be figuring out 5 things that, maybe quote unquote trigger you. What's something, for me, I talked about it. One thing that, set me off in the past is perceived disrespect. If I feel like somebody's disrespecting me, I'm going to bring it up. If it gets
Mm-hmm.
farther than that, we're gonna have an issue,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm just not one to take it. But there's been times where it's like I have like had gotten text messages from people and stuff like that, and I feel like I'm getting disrespected by the way they're saying it. And I have to check myself, like, whoa, 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 hold on, that's probably not what they're saying. You're reading it like that, like, make sure you give me that paperwork. It's like they're probably not. Chances are they're probably not saying it like that. Chances are that's
Right.
probably not how it's coming across, or how now that not how they're meaning to get it across. And in those moments, I'll be like, I need to check myself, take a minute, 5 seconds, be like, okay, 5, 10 seconds, like, okay, how could they actually be meaning this versus how I'm taking it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking it as perceived disrespect, maybe because of something else that happened with them, or something that happened earlier in the conversation, or the way the conversation's been going so far. It's like, okay, let me check myself. Let me just call them, because text message is probably one of the worst culprits of doing this. Let me just call them and be like, hey, I saw your text message. Didn't really. What was the context of that? What were you trying to say with that? It's like, oh, I was just saying, don't forget that we had to get that. I need that paperwork from you. Oh, okay, cool. So that wasn't even a disrespectful thing. The way I took that, it's like, but in my mind, it was a perceived disrespect for whatever reason. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
if it, like I said, maybe it was something. It could have been a conversation I had with somebody else where I felt disrespected by them, and now I'm bringing that shit into a whole different conversation.
That's true.
It's
Yeah.
like, so for me, it's like I had to recognize that it's like, okay, for me, perceived disrespect is a big thing, and I have to, like, okay, you need to ask follow up questions. Is that if you feel disrespected, you need to ask some more. You need to ask for more context.
Mm-hmm.
If you say something right now and I feel like it's perceived disrespect, it's like, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? And they get more context with it to let me know if I actually should be pissed off about this or not. And at times, yes, I should be pissed off about it
Mm-hmm.
because, oh, you actually did mean to disrespect me. Okay, let me act accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
Let
For
me call
sure.
you on that. Let me let you know that's not a thing that we're gonna do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I would say for me, like one trigger that I've definitely been working on this year is my perceived disrespect around how I talk to people and if they're talking over me. Like if I'm trying
Mm-hmm.
to explain something to somebody. I had this in the grocery store the other day. I met some. I don't even know how this happens. You meet somebody, you're in the same bread aisle, you're reaching for the same thing of bread or whatever, and then a conversation kicks off. And
Mm-hmm.
then for whatever reason, it's a good enough conversation to keep it going. But then when you get to the point where you want to speak, they're running over you, they're talking over you, all this kind of stuff. They don't seem too interested in what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So then we actually ended up exchanging numbers because before we got to that point, I'm like, oh, this person's cool. Maybe they'll have some value for me or whatever. Maybe I can provide value to them. But then the more the conversation went on, the more they were kind of talking over me. And I'm like, I ended up leaving their number. And I was like, this is not, but you got to catch it first. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? It's like, okay, if this is the way this person is off the cuff, how is it going to be if I get into like bigger conversations with this person? And if you not feel slighted, but if you feel like you're kind of like not getting what you need from that interaction the first time, what are the chances that it's going to continue down that path? And I would say, especially with women, if you're writing the poetry and you're doing all the love stuff and she's not receiving that the way that you want, you're probably going about it the wrong way. You know what I mean? So maybe it's best to either take a step back, readjust, whatever. But for my situation, it's like, I don't know if this is worth continuing. And I've had to catch myself with Travis. I've had to be like, yo, we had a meeting a couple of weeks ago where I was like, feel like you're running over me and all this kind of stuff. And he had that foresight to be like, okay, what did you say? Only one of us can be mad at a time. We both can't be mad at each other and like
Mm-hmm.
start butting heads because then we both have that perceived disrespect and it becomes a bigger thing down the road. But we were able to squash it same day because he was like, okay, I know this is not about me. He was the bigger person in that. He's like, I know this is not about me. This is how we're gonna handle that. And I was able to come back after that to be like, yo, you're right. This is what I was feeling, and we worked through that. But when you take the anger out of it, that's when you can have a real conversation and some real growth because then you're not beating yourself over the head or cussing somebody else out. They have no idea what's going on with you.
Mhm.
But this is a more strategic and adult way to handle those kind of situations.
Yeah.
So if you can catch your trigger before it happens, or if you can analyze it, take a second, take a deep breath, maybe state a boundary or figure out, I need to either exit or schedule a further talk with this person. That's okay. But as long as you're not blowing up at that person right then and there, because then it becomes a way worse situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And and it goes into also how much do you value the relationship? It's like 'cause some people don't value relationships
Yes.
and they just want to burn every bridge that they got. I'm like, okay, is it worth me burning this bridge down over this small thing?
Mhm.
Is it worth me popping off and cussing him out or doing these different things or acting a fool, acting crazy because of, like I said, something that I'm thinking in my head is going on. And it's when you really start thinking about it, it's like, bro, it's like most of us are living in our own delusion.
Mhm.
Honestly, is like, and yeah, are there times you want to call that out? Absolutely, 100%. Um, but I also realized, like, even with his situation, is like, okay, if you're in a dynamic where you're arguing with somebody, people will only argue with themselves for so long. Is that if we both, like I said, we both start getting hyped and be like, okay, I need to pull back from this.
Mhm.
This isn't an actual fight that has it has a winner in this thing, or needs to have that. It's let me just pull this back and just let this flow, let this go, because either they're going to calm down and figure and start seeing things clearly, or I can step back and actually see this for what it is. But you got to
Mhm.
be aware of yourself with that, and that took a long time for me to figure out. Like that's my one of my things.
Mhm.
Another one was me looking weak. I don't like to look weak. So somebody, if I'm like in the gym or something like that, and somebody, does the, what up, little guy, the pat on the head thing. I'm like, was that really necessary? That might be something I bring up. It's like, what are you trying to get out of doing that? Oh, I didn't mean anything by it. It's like, you did, but it's not that, it's not that big a thing. It's just like, why was that necessary for you to do?
Mhm.
And it's one of those things that, or even like, I've talked about the nigga thing. I don't like when people say that to me. It's like, oh, what
Mhm.
am I? It's like, nah, bro, I don't do that. And it's one of those things that I could easily let that slide, but that's one of those things that I'm willing to stand up for. It's like, no, let me call this out, call it for what it is right now, so that it doesn't become
Mhm.
an issue
Mhm.
later on down the line. Because I know if you keep calling me this later on down the line, if I say that to you and you just keep doing it, we're gonna have an issue. But later on down the line, you can't. Don't be upset about something you're not wanting to do something about.
Right.
So while people have those people, if you don't just have the trigger of like popping off and getting angry, some people have the trigger of like not willing to fight for something that's actually important, not willing to actually let somebody know that they feel disrespected, and then they end up popping off months later or farther down the line because you didn't bring up the thing that you actually felt strongly about. You didn't like
Mhm.
being called maybe somebody you didn't like being called a little guy, or you don't like the way somebody was talking to you, and you don't bring that up. Your trigger was to go within, was to okay, I'm just not going to bring this up. I'm going to run from this perceived like altercation. It's like I don't like arguing. My family argued, whatever reason. I don't like arguing with people, so they just run from every argument, from every conversation that seems like an argument that would actually
Mhm.
probably resolve the thing. They run from it, and then later on, want to get mad about it.
Yeah, for sure.
We've seen with women. Women do this a lot, where they bring up something 6 months down the line that you did that they got upset about. It's like, why didn't you bring that up to me when it happened? So you're talking to me about it six
Mhm.
months later?
Right.
I
Right.
had a situation like that. I told you about it, where me and a lady I was dating we were at like a dinner. We were over a friend's house for dinner. So we're, dinner, beers, just hanging out, stuff like that. They had just had a baby and didn't have a lot of adult time. So we were like, let's go hang out with some adult people. Yep.
Yeah.
And
Go ahead.
yeah, so they wanted to hang out with some stuff. So we went and hung out with them, had dinner with wine and beer and drinking and having a good time. And at one point, we're all sitting in the living room, just having a great time, having good conversation, joking, cracking jokes about stuff that's happened, getting to know them. I had never met them, and but they were both in the military, so I had a lot to talk to them about because growing up around the military. So we were all talking, and all of a sudden, like something came up between the guy and his wife, where she brought up an old situation that happened with some girl in their unit because they were both in the same unit in the military, and how like either he said something to her that came off as like him flirting with her, or the woman flirted with him and he didn't say anything about it, and the wife got all upset about it. This happened like 3 years ago or some craziness like that, or like a year ago or something like that. And she was like, well, you didn't tell that girl, that you were married, or da 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 da. And he was like, I can see on his face he's trying to remember the whole scenario of like, when did this even happen? What are you talking about? And then it clicked on him. He's like, oh, that one girl where that one situation happened, and it didn't sound like anything like cheating or crazy. It was just he didn't live up to that situation the way she wanted him to, and so she brought it up like 1-2 years later, and he was like, you could tell he's like, this is a thing for real. I didn't know this was a thing. She brought it up out of nowhere, and he just started apologizing. He's like, yeah, I'm okay, all right, yeah. So that 30 minutes of her basically getting into him. He's like, I'm sorry, da 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 da, and he just apologized. He's like, yeah, I'm sorry for that. I really should have called her out on that and let her know that I was married, and that she I should have not been talking to her, or whatever it may be. And he's like, I'm sorry, and so right after that happened, it was almost like my girlfriend was like, "Ooh, we're playing the argument game. My turn." And so she says to me, says something like, "Oh yeah, like I said something." She said, "Oh, like that girl at the pool party when you're staring at her ass." And I was like, "What are you?" I was like, "What are you talking about? What girl? What party?" And she's like, "Yeah, the pool party we went to, and da 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 da, and you were staring at so and so's ass." And I'm looking at her like, I'm really trying to remember the situation. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I remember like 3 months previously, we had gone to a pool party with her friends from her job, and there was a pool there, and all the girls were a little tipsy, and they were all trying to throw each other into the pool. And at one point, one of her friends was wearing a bathing suit because they were actually swimming. So some of them were wearing, some of the guys and girls were wearing bathing suits. So they threw her into the pool, and at some point in them throwing her in the pool, her friend's bathing suit bottom came down about halfway down her butt, because she's like leaning over the pool, and her swimsuit came down a bit. You couldn't see anything. You always see those cheeks. But everybody in the party saw it because all the chairs were turned towards the pool. So everybody's watching them throw each other in the pool. So we're all watching this, laughing at it. And then all of a sudden, the girl's bathing suit bottom comes down. So it's like we're all looking in that direction. So all of us see her ass.
Right.
So she brings up like, well, you were staring at her ass, because she popped out of the pool and like saw me looking in that direction, saw what was going on. And so I'm like, everybody saw her ass. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you're making it sound like I came running out the house to see some scattered ass around here. It's like I was looking in that direction already. My chair is facing the pool. How would I have not seen her? I didn't know her bathing suit bottom was going to come down, and I could see her like trying to work a scenario in this where I was wrong. And I'm like, everybody saw her ass. I was like, I wasn't staring. I looked because it was there. It's like, but I wasn't staring at her. I was like, she had, okay, her ass was out. What am I supposed to do about that? And I'm looking at her like, your move. Well, you shouldn't have been looking.
Reverse.
Yeah, he's like, you shouldn't have been looking, and da 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 da. And I'm like, and I think I even said to her, I'm like, look, if I wanted her, that would have been a different situation. If I was staring at her the rest of the night, or flirting with her, or anything like that, we'd be talking about something different right now. I said, but I saw the thing that was in front of my face. I'm not gonna just look away. There wasn't even time like that. I was like, so I'm not apologizing. I don't have anything to apologize for. Everybody in your party saw this girl's ass. I have nothing to apologize for. I'm not gonna do that because you got upset about it. I said, if that upsets you, you should have brought that up the night it happened. We had the whole ride home where we were laughing and talking about everything that happened, that you could have brought that up with me. You decided to wait 3 months later. I said, I'm not apologizing for shit.
Yeah.
And the look on her face was like, oh, you're not going to just apologize like he did. I was like, I don't care what he did. I don't know what he did. I have no idea what happened in this scenario, or if he even needed to apologize, or he was just trying to keep the peace. But I'm not going to apologize for something that I didn't do just to keep the peace. I'm not going to do it. You
For
know,
sure.
is like, and I eventually ended up pulling her outside. I was like, hey, let's go talk outside real quick. You know, so we stepped outside. I was like, look, I said, quit trying to start shit. And she said, what do you mean? I said, no, 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 no. I said, you saw them arguing. I said, we're in a good place in our relationship. We don't argue, we don't fight, we don't do any of that stuff. It's like, but you see these two get into a situation where, for whatever reason, whatever happened with this woman that they're talking about, I have no idea what happened. They decided to argue about this and make it an issue. I said, you decided to bring that into our relationship over some shit that doesn't warrant it. I said, we're in a good place. Don't fuck that up. Don't let something, an argument between your friends, fuck up our stuff.
Hmm.
I said, if you have an
That's
issue,
a very
I said we always have communication. I told you, if you ever have an issue with me, let me know. I've always
hmm
told you this. I said, if I have an issue with you, I let you know. Is that you can talk, you can tell me. Is that we'll talk about it. I said, but
yeah.
what we're not going to do is do the repeat of like, oh, they have a problem, so we have a problem thing. I'm not going to play that game with you. We're not going
Yeah.
to do it. I said,
It should not be
don't
contagious.
let your friends fuck up our relationship.
Right. Right.
I said, because that wasn't an issue until just now. You know?
Yeah. And it's crazy because like those type of arguments should not be contagious. No, but nobody should want to have drama, especially in public. Like
Yeah.
what do you get from that? Causing
Mhm.
trouble with you, or even the girl causing trouble with her husband.
Yeah.
Why does that now signal that everybody needs to have a problem? You know,
Mhm.
anytime I see a problem at a party, I'm like, look, it's either time to go or I'm gonna back out from that situation. You know what I mean? Because it's like
Yeah.
it's not worth it. You know,
Mhm.
all people are gonna do is go home and talk shit about you now.
Mhm.
You know, but
And it
hopefully,
turned a fun moment sour. Honestly, it was
yeah,
like it was all fun
yeah,
and games at first, and then it was like it started getting serious. It was like, oh, this just turned the whole
hmm
vibe just
out of
went
nowhere.
sour. And then, like I said, now
Hmm.
you want to play this game. It's like, no, 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 no. I was like, I refuse to let somebody else fuck up my situation. Absolutely not. It's
Yeah,
like if it's gonna get fucked up, it's gonna be because of me, something that I did.
right,
I
right.
said, if I'm gonna get in trouble for something, it's gonna be something I actually did, not because
Hmm.
homeboy screwed up 2 years ago for doing whatever he did to get him in
Yeah,
trouble. I said, no, no, no,
yeah.
no. If it's gonna get screwed up, if I'm gonna get in trouble with you, it's gonna be because of something I did, and not just you
Hmm.
looking for some stuff.
Right. Yeah, and that's just those type of boundaries are so very important, and it's kind of the whole basis of what we're talking about is that if you don't have those boundaries, man, people will run over you, disrespect you privately
Mhm.
and publicly, and do it with a smile,
Yeah.
you know, and that's just
and
something that we can't have as men.
and
Yeah.
the funny thing is, I told her, I said, here's the rule. I said, here's my rule. I said, you got, so you got a 30-day period that you can bring some
Hmm.
stuff up with me. I said, if it's beyond that 2 weeks to 30 days, I said, it doesn't exist in my world anymore.
Yeah.
I said, you got like 2 weeks to 30 days to get mad at me about some stuff that I did. I said,
Hmm.
if it falls into that second month, you're not gonna get any kind of emotion from me at all on it. It's like it
Yeah.
doesn't exist anymore. You're gonna be mad by yourself because I'm not apologizing
Yes.
for it, and I'm just just not. I'm not gonna apologize for it. Something I did 2 months ago. Is that if you were
Yeah.
mad, you should have brought it up to me. Wait a day if you need to cool down, whatever it needs to be. But that's a communication thing. If you can't communicate to me for in within a 2 week period that I did something that upsets you, then obviously it didn't matter that much.
Right. For sure. Sorry, guys. Hopefully, you're able to get something from all this. A 2-hour masterclass about how to set boundaries and have some self-respect.
Yeah.
We have a couple of questions we wanted to kind of end out on as well. I think they go really well together. How can let's say you were a guy who you have pedestalized your woman. You put her on something that's higher than you, and you're down here kind of worshiping at her feet, but you don't want to do that anymore, and you see that it's not getting you the results that you want, and how do you reestablish that or rebuild that self-respect, or have her respect you and take her off of that pedestal? You know what I'm saying? Bring her back down to a place where you both can have that equal mutual respect and also be a part of a team again. You know what I mean? Because if you
Mhm.
put somebody way up here, they're gonna act like you serve them and not, you guys serving each other. So, Travis, one or two ways that you think somebody can build that respect after a situation like this? How would you if a Kosh came to you and said, Travis, help me? What would you
help
say?
me, help me.
Yeah. Right.
Oh man, dumper.
Gotcha.
Honestly, because here's the thing, man. If you treat her like a star, she's always going to treat you like a fan. So,
Hmm.
depending on how serious it is, there's no coming. I don't think there's coming back from it. To be honest with you, his scenario, I don't know if that can be fixed.
Hmm.
Um, and I hate to say that like that because I'm not one of those one that's like, yeah, you should just divorce and go get another one. But it's like if you've been a certain type of way, and thinking back on some of the relationships that I've been in, if I had changed and actually started to value myself and different things like that, I don't even think I'd be in a dude who wanted to still be in that relationship. To be real about it,
Hmm.
because once you start to respect yourself, you stop taking a lot of the bullshit.
Hmm.
Once you start having respect for yourself and that self control and start really tapping into that and start really focusing on your purpose, you become it becomes very annoying the drama and all that other stuff like that. It becomes one of those things you're just not one to tolerate. So on a certain instance, unless she changes along with you, that's one of those situations you probably need to exit. But if you have been, let's say you've just been this early dating and you've been giving her all the attention and bringing the flowers on the first date and doing going above and beyond, doing the simp thing. It's like not just a good guy thing, not just a gentleman thing, but like simping, like good
Boombox
morning
outside of
beautiful,
her
good
bedroom.
morning beautiful text every morning, and it's like good morning,
Yeah.
it's like checking whether the day, how you doing beautiful, and da. Think Steve Urkel. If you've been Steve Urkeling for like, let's say you've been dating a girl for, let's say, maybe a month to 3 months, and you've been doing that, you got to start to pull that back. You know, you got to start to
Hmm.
pull that back. Honestly, start having longer gaps in communication would be the first one. I'm not telling you to go
Hmm.
days without talking to her, but if you're texting her like throughout the day while you're supposed to be working and focused on your business, start making that the priority, and maybe text her maybe in the morning, maybe at night, but you don't text her throughout the day at all. Here's the
Hmm.
thing, because you got to figure out if she's worth staying in this for. Because if the minute you start to pull back that attention or that validation or anything like that, and she starts to buck against that immediately, you probably need to end it because it's not gonna go well. Looks like we got a comment here.
This is good advice. What's up, Jay? Thank you for
What?
coming, brother.
But yeah, I would say
Uh,
first thing you need to do is start to reduce that. Let's say if you've been giving that 110%, break it back to 90, bro. Bring it back to
yeah.
90. It's like I say, less communication. Don't get back to her right away. You should be busy anyway.
Hmm.
If you got enough time in your day to be texting back, because I see you guys do all the time where they're texting their woman all day long. If you're able to text with your woman all day long, then you're not doing anything with your life. Is that you need to be focused on something else. Is like
Yeah.
put your focus back on work, put your focus back on getting in shape, learning something new that you need to learn, in anything and everything that you need to do to better yourself. So you give less attention to that thing.
Hmm.
And honestly, if one of those things you'll figure out is like if she starts to complain, she's gonna complain. It's gonna happen. She's probably gonna complain. But there's a thing that has where she should start to chase you more than you're chasing her. That's really what you want to get to. You want it where like you're not just the one reaching out. You're not just the one giving all the time. You're not just the one calling all the time. Is like if the only time you talk to her is when you call her, that's a problem.
Hmm.
Is
Yeah.
like she knows when your schedule just like you know hers at this point.
Hmm.
Is that she knows when you get off work. If she's used to you calling her like 10 minutes while you're in the parking lot before you even pull out of work, and it's been an hour since you were supposed to be off, and she doesn't give you a call or shoot you a text, you're in a situation where it's like you are not. She's the prize. She knows it. And
Hmm.
like I said, in a lot of those situations, you're probably going to end up in a situation as you pull back from that where you may have to end it. It's just how
Hmm.
it goes. It sucks, but it's one of those things that you've set a standard for her now, and some women don't do well with um, having that change, having that flip. But you
Yeah.
got you got to change up now immediately in the scenario and start showing yourself more respect and
Hmm.
demanding that of her in that situation. That would be a number one because you got to start reclaiming that respect, that self respect first. before anything else, because otherwise, nothing else you do in this relationship or the scenario is going to matter at all anyway.
Mm-hmm. I actually don't have anything to add to that because that's a huge one. It's like if you truly can't get them to accept that change, take your ball and go home. You
Yeah.
know, or if it's to the point where like, hey, you really want to work it out and she's not even open to that idea, then you pretty much have your answer. You know, there, I remember there was a time where I was talking to one of my exes
Mm-hmm.
and we were just texting back and forth, and she had said, you know, do you ever think we'll get back together? And I didn't launch into this thing, but like I gave this whole like only time, very poetic, only time will tell if the stars align and all this other dumb shit. And then,
Arthur
and
Akash.
then for real, no, it was. And then she came back with, I actually didn't write that. The guy that I was talking to wrote that, and we laughed at you. Like we need like this is not happening kind of thing and all this stuff. And it wasn't like we were like not
Man.
we were talking, but
Yeah.
we weren't like back to being intimate and all that kind of stuff. You know, we were just
Mhm.
like, hey, how are you? Whatever, hope your day's going well. But she knew that I still was like very much trying to be with her type of thing.
Mhm.
And she played to that, you know. So
Mhm.
that mean, but you know what that means is that they were talking about me at some point. They thought this shit was funny. He was probably sitting right there with her, or vice versa, as this thing was going on. And then that was the point where I was like,
Reading through your text messages too, probably.
hmm.
Ooh, man.
And that was the point where I was like, excuse my French, this bitch ain't worth it. This is not what I want in my
Yeah.
life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then we ended up low key getting back together at one point, but there was a point where I was sitting across. I just Travis, I had just pulled up to her house, and we started watching TV. We were talking about what we were talking about, and then we're watching TV, and I just look because I'm sitting on one couch, she's sitting on the other. I just look across from her, and I'm just like, there's no reason for me to be here. It was
Mhm.
very like existential. My whole I was no emotion, not mad, nothing. I was just like, this is the last time I'm coming over here. Just subtle, but very potent,
Yeah.
I think. And I was just like, no, I'm good. And I never went back. I didn't respond to any text messages. We weren't talking no more. And I was just like, no, I'm good. You know, and that's what Akash needs. That's what a lot of guys need. It's just that
Yeah.
moment, that realization of I am putting my money, I'm putting my meat into a black hole at this
Mhm.
point. I'm not gonna get what I need. I'm not gonna get the love that I want. I'm not gonna get the respect or admiration or whatever, the support that I need, because then it makes you go back and think about those other times that there was an issue with that person as well. And you
Mhm.
just start collecting data. And it's just like, you know what, this is not worth the investment anymore. And you move on. Period. That there doesn't need to be some big fanfare. It doesn't need to be a bitch, I hate you, hope you die, and all that other kind of stuff. It's just you just walk away.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
And if that person resists those boundaries that you're trying to set, you know, to your point, trying to be the best version of yourself, and kind of still keep those relationships around you. If they can't get down with that, and like, oh well, you're not really this person. You're still such and such, da da da. Da." Okay, well, to convince yourself, you still need to get rid of them
Mhm.
because you're the person who needs to be convinced of this new version of you, not her.
Yeah.
She'll either get it or she don't.
Yeah.
But you need to do this for yourself first and foremost.
Yeah. And another question we had was, what if my partner or my lady, my wife, whatever, um,
Resist the boundaries.
resist my boundaries. And this
Yeah.
kind of goes into the first point I made, where it's like you got to pull back a little bit. And some guys would hear that and be like, well, "That's real harsh." Why would you just pull back with somebody you like? It's like, okay, some guys aren't about that. Some of it may be a conversation. You need to actually have a real conversation, because if it gets to the point where that they're resisting you setting boundaries, then you're probably not setting them clearly enough. To be
Mm-hmm.
honest, that would be my first thing, because especially if somebody's not used to you setting boundaries, you got to make it like cement, clear as cement. That this is a boundary that I have. So that might be a conversation. Like, so, I've had to have a few of them. Like I said, with the lady, when young lady I'm talking about, I was dating, was like, this is my boundary. Is like you got 2 weeks to tell me that you're mad about something, Otherwise, it doesn't exist in my world anymore. Don't bring, if you bring it up, I'm going to give you the same energy I gave you tonight. I'm not apologizing for anything.
Mhm.
It's like, not to say that I wasn't wrong in it or something like that, but you waited too long. It's like, we're not playing the tick for tack game that you're just going to put this in your pocket and hold it over me later on. We're not going to do that. I've seen relationships like that. They're not the type I want to be in. We're not doing it. It's
Mhm.
like, I wouldn't, you may, if you want to be in that type of relationship, you will be in it by yourself because I won't be around.
Mhm.
Is like, so that's a conversation you need to have with somebody, like an actual like sit down conversation. If it becomes a big issue, especially somebody crossing boundaries, that needs to be, you need to be willing to have that hard conversation. Sit her
Mhm.
down and let her know, be like, hey, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm not willing to accept in my life. Not just in this relationship, in my life. I'm not willing to accept this from anybody.
Mhm.
Is like, and we've been having this issue come up quite a bit. Is, I don't know if you reckon, I don't know if you know it, but this is a situation that I'm seeing go on, and it could just be me, and that's why I felt like I needed to bring it up. But this is what I'm seeing and what I'm not willing to accept in this thing. So if this thing keeps going on, I will not be here. Period.
Mhm.
As it's not a threat. I'm not, begging you to change. If you want to change, that's cool. If you decide not to, that's cool too.
Mhm.
I'll go about my way. It's like, but if it's, especially if it's something serious, like say somebody being, talking about you disrespectfully, or you're embarrassing you in public, or these different things like that, or talking, anything like that. Is like, that needs to be addressed with a face-to-face conversation, not a
Mhm.
text message, not like, not, no, you need to like
FaceTime or
FaceTime.
call.
Hey, we need to
Yeah.
talk. FaceTime when you get
Email.
home, or like, hey, let's go. I need to talk to you. Let me meet you at the house, or you meet me at my house, or whatever it may be. That needs to be a conversation. You need to be willing to have the hard conversations to set that strong boundary. Otherwise, people are not going to respect us, and that goes for anybody, not just romantic relationships. That goes with anybody.
Mhm. 100%. So, man, I would say the biggest thing, the biggest takeaway is that just try to be the man that you want to be in a relationship before you actually get into the relationship.
Facts.
Build your standards. Make sure that you respect yourself and that you can be with somebody who respects you. And don't wait too long. Don't wait too long to address people's disrespect of you or any
Mhm.
type of boundary crossing, especially with somebody that you love, because I can't remember who said it, but the people who are closest to you are the most primed to disrespect or hurt you. And it might not even be on purpose, but
Mhm.
because they're so close to you, they know they should know a good amount about you, which puts you in a vulnerable position. And not to say that you can't be vulnerable with people, because that's not what we're saying, but just make sure that you have the right people as close to you, like that, a wife, parents. We know parents can be pieces of shit to their kids.
Yeah.
So why do you think that if you don't set a boundary for a stranger who you're looking to become your boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever, or your kids are can disrespect you too. And we
Mhm.
all wonder why family is all fucked up to each other because we know so much about each other or the person that you choose to marry or be with and stuff like that. So it first and foremost, you set those boundaries with people that love you and who are supposed to be close to you, you know, before
Yeah.
the world. You got to start with you. So it's you and then the rest of the world.
Yeah. Man, think about it like this: in every relationship you have, in your world, you're building your life, you're building yourself as a man, you're building your kingdom, you're building your house. Every relationship you have, you're building a room with that person. You're building out. You got the cement, you got the blocks, you got all that. You're building together that room.
Mhm.
The longer you take to handle those boundary situations and those comments, the farther and farther you get in that building process. If it's been a year, that room is kind of set. You got walls up. The electricals in and everything like that. To a lot of times to change it, you got to start tearing stuff down. And some people aren't willing to start all over with you like that. You got to start that early. That has
Mhm.
to be conversation in the beginning. You can't be building two different rooms.
Right.
I want to build a 10-foot room and you think we're building a 4 foot. It's a
Right.
big difference. Is that we got to be on the
Right.
same page as we're going with this, because like I said, if you don't, you're gonna end up having to tear some walls down, bro. Like I said, not everybody's willing to start all over again and rebuild that. Not every relationship can handle that scenario, and you
Right.
figure out a lot of times you're just not compatible to build this thing with somebody else.
Mhm.
It's like, so
100%.
you really gotta get serious about our relationships, because build our world. They build the world that we find ourselves in. They build us up as a man. They build us up as a family. It's the thing that we live in. It's the thing that we move forward with. So we really got to be real strategic with the way we move in relationships now. It's actually a really important thing. We take it way too lightly and just think of it as like love and affection and sex and all these different things like that. This stuff can get real serious, man, because you're actually building a life with somebody.
Right.
And if you're building the wrong thing, bro, is that you could find yourself in chaos like Akaash Bagash over here, living out a nightmare, bro.
Yeah.
You know, he's not living the kind of life with his wife that he actually really would want to live.
Yeah.
It's probably the opposite, to be honest with you.
For sure. So, all right, guys, leave it in the comments below. Let us know what would you do either in a situation, or have you ever pedestalized a woman? You ever just put her up on, that put her in a shiny trophy case and had that light beaming down on her that says, my prize or whatever. Like, are you doing that, or are you actually setting healthy boundaries, with the people that are around you, and not just your girl, but your people, your friends, your teammates, and whatever, business partners, and make sure that they all know kind of where you stand, because then you get into these situations where you're blowing up with each other and all this kind of stuff, and it's just not productive, But the more you set that with yourself, the easier it is to set these with other people, And this very much feels like being a gardener in a war during this situation.
Before we go there, don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. We're knocking on that 1,000 subscribers, man. I think we're like maybe 50 out from that. There's definitely
man.
For the end of the year, we're right there. Like and subscribe. Help your voice out, because as you see, we put a lot of effort into these conversations that we have, whether it be the lives or the podcasts or the interviews that we do and different things like that. And they're all for the free, bro. We're not charging you guys a dime for this. All we're charging is likes and subscriptions. It's free, that free 99, the homeboy hookup. Give it to us, man. Help us reach that 1,000 before the end of the year, so we can keep bringing bigger and bigger interviews and conversations and get digging this, and definitely hit us up and let us know, like, hey, what conversations do you think we need to have? What do we really, what's a helpful conversation? What do we need to focus on? What's some new issues that you think need to be brought up for the guys in this circle, man? And definitely tap in, with the Legion community and the 800 Gates, man, to help you get on track to find that purpose, so that you're actually building your life and your relationships the right way. That it starts with you, to become a man who moves with integrity, who moves with honor, who focuses on his purpose and his building a profitable life, who's tapped in with his purpose and his goals, and builds a life that he can actually bring a woman into and move forward with in a positive way, so you don't end up on the internet being the butts of everybody's jokes.
Absolutely. So yeah, man, smash that like and subscribe button. Tell your friends, let them know, and help us with that subscription. We're 49 people away from 1,000, y'all. We are trying to crush we got a month left in this year, and we're trying to surpass that goal line. So pass it off to other guys that you think would benefit from this, because we want you to be a warrior in a garden,
then a gardener in a war.
See you guys next time. Peace.
Stay dangerous.